Youth to Gold is a philosophy that only allows you to buy players 19 years of age or younger, while trying to sell players who are 30 and above, with the aim of developing young cheap talents and selling the older players for huge profits, to achieve the ultimate goal of building a side to win the Champions League. And this year, the club I have chosen, it's Mallorca. After my dad and I's amazing trip there recently, we just had to. But of course, Barcelona and Real Madrid are going to make this even harder to win trophies. However, with some of our players in their 30s just joining the club, it's going to take us a season to really install our philosophy, as well as the fact that we got a tiny transfer budget. So we may just breeze through this first transfer window without any money and get to the action. So to catch you up, my first task was the backroom staff. We had 0 scouts to begin with, so we need to find some with fantastic judging potential and adaptability. And once I got most of my backroom staff in, including all of the scouts, I could then start assigning the scouts through recruitment focuses. I know a lot of you are going to be doing Youth to Gold saves and want to know what is the best way of setting up your scouts, so let me show you. I've only got 6 scouts plus a chief scout, and as you can see, I've got 6 recruitment focuses done already, and I'm going to do one more. So this is how I would actually do it. Create recruitment focus, go down to this drop menu, press any, select any, because I don't really care about my formation yet. I just want to find all these players in the future. Select transfer. I'm going to keep going back until I get to a 5-star or 5 silver star, because that's going to be the youth rating. Then I'm going to be having a look at this one, and I want my potential to be roughly 4-star potential or more, because if I go 5-star, I'm not going to get as many players. Let's go 4-star for now. Of course, the maximum age is going to be 19. I don't want any more than 19. That's not allowed. Ongoing. Now, at the minute, because I haven't got that many scouts, I've got every single scout out other than one, which is William Santos. I'm going to bring him in. And I've got, and I'll show you the locations in a second where they're all dotted around. So I'm going to select the area for this guy. I want it to be 3 or 4 different nations. So I want Argentina. I want Brazil as well. And then let's take a look. I want to have a look also in Germany and probably Spain as well, because that's obviously, I've got them covered twice already, but getting Spanish players in is going to be quite crucial. I'm going to click confirm on that one. I'm going to untick this one so that he's going to find different people compared to the one that I've already got. And this one I'm going to name Best Nations, because these are the nations that I want to be finding the best players from. In fact, I'm actually going to add one more from Europe, and that is going to be the Netherlands, because they are always chucking out some really good players as well. So that's 5 nations from there that I've got to select confirm. Now the rest of them, you can see I've got one exactly identical setup for Spain. I've got one exactly identical setup for the whole of Europe. The same for Africa. Now cheap nations, you might like this one as well. I've got 9 different countries here that I usually find cheap wonder kids from. Denmark, Croatia, Austria, Norway, Romania, Serbia, Sweden, Switzerland, and Czech Republic. Those nations I always tend to find really good cheap wonder kids from, and they're European. That's basically what I've got set up, and I've got a UK one too, as well as a South America. Okay, that's as easy as that. For now, with only 6 scouts and a chief scout, that's all I'm setting up. I do welcome my first signing through the door from Real Madrid, the left-footed centre-back Montolio, who is just 16 years of age with 16 for passing and tackling for just under 300k. And tactically for Season 1, before we really find our identity, we're going to go for this 4-3-1-2 formation. And we brought in another signing from Lokomotiva for 450k up front, with a deal that could amount to a few million with add-ons. The first game of the season swiftly came at us against Celta Vigo, and we find ourselves a goal down after just 11 minutes. Second half, and again we were starting slow, and Celta doubled their lead 10 minutes from the break. Just 3 minutes later, after Mariki went off injured, his replacement Abdon pulled a goal back, and in the 92nd minute, Maffeo sprayed the ball out wide to Raylo, who took a chance at the defender and squeezing the equaliser. And we followed that with a 3-1 home win against Getafe. And our striker Mariki was back from injury to help us beat Granada 5-1. And that fantastic start to the season sees us sat in 6th place with a difficult month ahead. But the transfer window is now closed shut until January. But our recruitment focuses are already well underway, finding us future prospects to add to our shortlist we may have to call upon soon. And as I mentioned, I've just started a future prospect shortlist where any players I really like, such as Justin Deal, I can keep a closer eye on. Our first loss came against Almeria at home, and Abdon probably had the best start for us, scoring in the win away to Real Betis. Real Madrid then came for a visit, and we started so well and took the lead through Giovanni Gonzalez. But in the second half, already on a yellow card, the same Gonzalez brought down Vinicius Jr. to receive his second yellow card, and he is off. Still, I am so proud of the team, despite Tchouaméni equalising not long after from a fantastic strike, and then the legend and former Ballon d'Or winner Luka Modric winning the game with an unbelievable free kick. Another loss to Real Sociedad, and the month doesn't look great, but I personally am quite satisfied with how the team performed. Then we went unbeaten throughout the whole of October by drawing all 4 games. Our own incompetence in defending and passing out from the back led to Barcelona taking the lead against us, but then they remembered they are Barcelona, and they started knocking the ball around a bit, and they battered us 4-0. We hosted Villarreal and had a horrendous first half, conceding to Real Albiol, but came out in the second half much more fired up, and Samu leveled the scoring before Kyle Larin opened up his body and smashed in the winner. But still, we drew 2 more games. It's our favourite thing to do. In December, possibly at the worst time though, we went on an incredible run, starting with a win against Alaves after going a goal down, followed by beating Bilbao with Maffeo and Mariki really standing out, and once again coming from behind, this time just 2-0 after just 7 minutes, and then defeating Sevilla 1-0 from the penalty spot, and taking our only loss this month away to Atletico Madrid, followed by a win in the Copa del Rey first round. And I said it was at the wrong time because it was December, right before the transfer window just opened, and now we're getting bids for all of our players. Starting almost immediately, we received a bid which I rejected for Maffeo and Abdon, which the club rejected the negotiation. But just a day later, Manchester United activated Maffeo's release clause of £21 million. However, he turned them down as well as Arsenal to go to Saudi Arabia for absolutely ridiculous wages. While that was going on, we welcomed Nigerian 18-year-old goalkeeper Nwosu to the club on a free transfer. In my South American recruitment focus, however, I had already targeted my Maffeo replacement, penning the injury that he currently has from San Lorenzo. But we had to act fast as he turned 20 on the 16th of January, and he signs just 3 days before that. Mariki was the other wanted star in our squad after 10 goals in the first 19 games, and many clubs were interested. And again, Manchester United activated his £29 million release clause. That's a lot of money that you can buy replacements with, and of course, a lot of other wonder kids though, right? It would have been if Lazio did not receive 45% of it. It's a shame to see these first teamers go, because even during January, both of them were playing outstanding for us, scoring all 3 goals between them in a win to Getafe. Mariki also scored both goals for us against Celta Vigo. At least he got his final goodbye to the fans in his last game as we beat Granada 2-0. While looking for his replacement, we had £18 million, and I went for my #1 target this January in Rafael Luis of Benfica, managing to secure a deal that eventually could climb to £9 million. But I think the Portuguese 18-year-old will be worth every single penny for us and starts in our starting 11. And he banged in the winner on his debut for us against Girona in the Copa del Rey. Replacing Mariki, however, was a lot more difficult than what I thought it would be. Despite us obviously having a very good recruitment focus, we didn't have any strikers that could come in the first team right away. So what I've had to do is I've loaned Nelson Viper, who is a very good German striker, in the same kind of stature as Mariki. He's 6'4", he's a bit of a powerhouse, with good heading ability and good finishing. He's nowhere near the standard of Mariki, but he's only 18. Now, the reason why I couldn't sign him outright was because he had just signed a new contract in December, meaning he didn't want to leave. However, we have loaned into the end of the season. We do have an optional future fee. We might even pay less than that optional future fee to bring him in on a permanent deal, should he play well. He wasn't the only signing though that we made. We did spend a little bit more money, £2.3 million on Zidane Sertdemir, 18-year-old Danish centre-attacking midfielder, who's not going to be playing first-team football for us yet, but by next season, I'm hoping we'll be able to bed into the side. Again, he's only 18, but good potential. £2.3 million is an absolute steal. He went to Nordsjælland, went to Bayer Leverkusen, back to Nordsjælland. Now we're at Mallorca. Maybe he will sign for Nordsjælland again after us. In the summer, we also have some free transfers. We're looking at Hugo Barrincha from Real Zaragoza, 17 years of age. Again, it's just a freebie. James De Bayo, centre-back from Leeds. Really good first touch and tackling and technique. Again, only 18 years of age. And finally, we have Arsene Diao, 18 years of age, winger or striker, who has fantastic physicals, maybe just needs to catch up elsewhere. But 5-star potential, and again a free transfer, can't really complain. Nor can we complain about our form. We've won every game in January. An incredible month for us despite losing our 2 best players arguably, and we now sit in 5th. But as you can see, both Mariki and Mafia was up there in the player statistics. And boy did we miss them as the season went on. We did beat Real Betis 1-0 during February. But that was our only win, as we then lost both to Barcelona and Real Madrid, who actually tonked us 7-0, as well as Sociedad and Almeria. Nelson Viper finally scored his first goal for us after 5 appearances in a win against Vallecano. And with 2 months of the season remaining, we still had hopes of European football next season. But an absolute drumming from Valencia made me think we were being quite naive. This draw at home to Las Palmas proved that we missed the attacking threat Mariki and Maffeo provided, and we already hit stage 2 of Youth to Go so soon in the project. Stage 2 is basically where you start to sell all of your already established players, maybe the best players in your squad like Maffeo and like Mariki, and start trying to embed the new young signings that you have brought in, try and replace them, which obviously is never going to help straight away. They need a little bit of development, and you're probably going to see a dip in your form. That's stage 2. And the step to stage 3 is always the hardest, because you're waiting for your young signings to develop to become better players. It's a scrappy and very frustrating time, but it's well worth it when it pays off eventually, and that's why I love Youth to Gold. We drew 3 more games in April, but Nelson scored 2 goals in 4 games. It's just a case of at the end of the season whether I see his price tag as being worth bringing him in on a permanent or not. Unfortunately, just 1 win and 4 draws in the last 2 months has harmed our push for European football this season, but that would have been an overachievement anyway. With the original plan for this season just to accomplish a mid-table finish, which we should definitely do. The youth intake give us a couple of new talents that have potential to grow into something. But that's not what Mallorca are known for, as they only have half a star for their youth recruitment, but it is something I'd like to improve every season. Our final run of fixtures is tough, with games against Barcelona, Sevilla, Atletico and Bilbao. And the first game against Alaves didn't start great, as Samuel Marodion assisted Alcain for the opening goal. But it only did take us 4 minutes to pull us back to 1-1, which is how it finished. We took the lead against Barcelona, but Robert Lewandowski. We also lost to Sevilla away from home, but we did manage to beat Atletico thanks to a Nelson Viper header at the back post. He also managed to score against Bilbao on the final day from Luis's assist. Unfortunately, we still lost that match, and our end of season puts us on 51 points in 11th position, but that's just where the fun begins. The highlighted 8 players are all running out of contract and to be released, including Danny Rodriguez, who has started 35 league games this season but is aged 35, and Abdon, who is also a fan favourite of the club. We have £20 million in our transfer budget for now, with a lot of players to analyse that we could potentially bring in, and a big decision as to whether or not we make Nelson Viper's transfer a permanent one to Mallorca this summer. With our first season over, we can now ask the board to supply us with some more scouts. While I'm here, I might as well ask for improved youth recruitment as well, with the aim to raise more transfer budget, and fringe players like Valgent, who has 1 year left, can be moved on. I think at the end of each season too, we should look at how our new signings are developing. After all, with this being Youth to Go, it's important to track how a lot of our signings are doing and whether they can get into the first team or not. So starting from season 2, at the end of every season, we're going to do a development dive into all of these players. New budgets came in with £25 million in the transfer kitty. So with that in mind, I think we should try to make Viper a permanent sign-in and try and offer what he's actually valued with no add-ons. I'm also going through my current recruitment focuses and adding any player I like to my future prospect shortlist before deciding who else to sign. The board have agreed that we are lacking in the scouting department and have allowed us just 1 more scout. At least it wasn't a no, I guess, so I'll go out and hire another. New board culture excites me though, to sign players under 23 for the first team. 2 offers are coming in for Valgent, so I'm going to try and start a bidding war by upping one of them to see if they accept, which they did, and reject the other while offering him out for even more money. The board have also agreed to increase the youth recruitment network, happy days. And we managed to confirm Nelson Viper as a permanent transfer before we've even hit June. My target for that centre attacking midfield position though is Anthony Melambo at Feyenoord, whom my scouts rate very highly, so I'm going to try and negotiate a cheap price without feeling like we are overpaying, and instead, for a cost that I know in years time we can create huge profit from. And we got the deal done, happy days. But we also start to sell players as well, and for next season, I want to maybe start using wingers, so I'm looking at Prestiani as a target who my scouts recommend very highly, and he's a very reasonable price too. We are slowly getting rid of all of our 30+ euros despite them being our best players like Dada, who we sold for 15 million, and centre-back Raylo, who is for a little bit less. Valjean might be staying as he just keeps rejecting clubs though. I need a couple of centre midfielders, and Dorgeles is perfect and is turning 20 in August, so I need to make a move quickly, so bringing him in now is sensible before I forget. Another really cheap talent in centre midfield is Fernando Neto at Salzburg, who I really like the look of too, and he's rather cheap, so I'm going to bring in both. There was not a lot of options for centre-back, so I went for the highest rated I could afford, and that's this Norwegian guy at Rosenborg called Håkon Rosten. Arguably, my best deal though was for Bayern's attacking midfielder Arjan Ibrahimovic for just 175k. That's a bargain. I had a job interview offer from Bilbao too, which was weird. Behind the scenes, I'm working on a couple of signings that I think you're really going to like, for a good price too. Another player over 30 left the club in Mascarell for 2.3 million, as well as Valjean, who finally left to Real Sociedad for 7 million, meaning we were also quite short at centre-back. But my cheap nation recruitment focus came in clutch for strikers as we brought in 2 Serbians, with the first Popovic, who I'm looking to loan out straight away, as well as Alexic, who will challenge Viper for first team football. First game of the season is already here though, and it's Athletic Bilbao away, which leads into me explaining what our tactic is. We're going for a 1 striker formation with a shadow striker. I think Malambo is fantastic, especially in that role with that 15 composure. I really like that. I just wish he had better off the ball, but I really like the shadow striker role this year. We're sticking with like a 3-man midfield, but I want to push Luis a little bit further forward because he is more of a natural centre mid. I think we can benefit more out of him, especially in that centre midfield on attack, because then it will fill that void there, and he'll sit in alongside Prestiani, who is going to be an inside forward on support. However, he is right-footed, so I am tempted to see what that's like as a winger, but other than that, it's very bog standard. The Volante on attack, on support, deep line playmaker, the usual back 4 with Lato given the license to go forward on attack duty because there's nobody in front of him. I think this might be a work in progress, but I'm excited to see how it plays out. And it was a very tight first half, with the deadlock being broken on the 71st minute, and Viper tapped in the rebound from Samu's shot. But we couldn't take all 3 points on this day, unfortunately, as Bilbao equalised just 2 minutes later. Brentford keep coming in for Sotacek, who we signed last season for pennies, and I'm happy just to accept the deal, which is up to 15.5 million. Nice bit of profit from the 1.5 billion we spent on him last summer. In the second fixture, I was enjoying the combination of Prestiani and Malambo, although we did draw the game 2-2. But once again, in the following match, our football was a joy to watch, and a very good first half goal was deserved. Unfortunately though, luck wasn't on our side, as Almeria scored a deflected shot. However, our captain Sammy was there to find the winner to give us our first 3 points of the season. I haven't mentioned him much, but he is a quality player for us, and just 23 years old. He scored 2 goals in the following match as well against Villarreal, although both were questionable from the goalkeeper. And that was another win for us though. 3-2 against a very good Villarreal side. Deadline day, and my final target is 19-year-old German centre-back or right-back at Salzburg that my scouts rate very highly. And we get a deal accepted for £11.75 million up front. Morgala joins us as a very versatile defender, as mentioned, can play centre-back and right-back with a model citizen personality. That's perfect. He better be ready though, because we've got a tough couple of months coming up. Starting with a loss to Real Sociedad after a 91st minute penalty. Following that, we've seen great link-up play from Prestiani and Nelson Viper straight from the kickoff, and as Viper scores in the first minute of the match against Valencia. And it stayed that way too. Unfortunately, we couldn't take that into the Sevilla game, and now we host Real Madrid at home, who within 5 minutes tore us apart, playing through Rodrigo to open the scoring. However, we weathered the many waves of attacks and found Lato on the left, who found Malambo drifting into space for the equaliser. And in the 90th minute, Ibrahimovic dropped one high to the back post, and there was Capetti to nod in the winner. An unbelievable win, and that puts us 6th place currently after just 8 matches, and cost Real Madrid their 100% record so far. And how do we follow that performance? Did we push on and win some more games? No, we lost all 3 of the following matches, including a 5-0 loss to Alaves. We finally got back to winning ways against newly promoted Espanyol, where Prestiani was exceptional, assisting the first and scoring the second. However, man of the match was left back Tony Lato, who assisted the last 2 goals. He even scored in the next game after stabbing home the second of 3 goals against Sporting, but we couldn't win through on the bounce as Atletico kept us to a 1-0 loss. December was a weird month as we lost at home to Celta Vigo from 2 late goals, and then drew 0-0 to Las Palmas, before beating Granada 4-0 at home. And then we travelled to Valencia to beat Levante 3-0 with a cracking goal from a young Serbian striker. We then won 7-1 in the first round of the Copa del Rey as we turn into the new year of 2025. We currently sit 9th place in La Liga. It's probably a good point now to have a look again at our scouting system, etc., because I have changed a little bit. We've got £8 million in our budget, so we can probably sign a couple of players should we want to. 20 recommendations just in the European one alone. The South America's got 19. This is the one I've added now. Portugal, Spain, and Italy, just 3 really good nations with one of the new scouts that I have brought in. But we're still picking up loads from the other ones. 15 recommendations there. 7 from the Spain just alone. The cheap nations, another 2. This guy here, 3-star current ability, 4-star potential. If I wanted a centre midfielder to bring in, that could be a really good one because, again, he's quite cheap. UK one tends to bring out some expensive ones. I'll probably avoid signing a lot of players from there. Best Nations has got one there. Leo Sauer and Africa. Very rare that you find one, but when you do, 9 times out of 10, it's worth a pickup because for 800k, yes, he's only got 2 strength and 2 jump and reach, but I could probably make a profit out of him. 2 new signings came through early doors, with the first being Dardé, a German midfielder from Hertha Berlin, just 18 years old, and then Edu Sanchez from Barcelona, a very talented left-back for just 350k. January didn't start well on the pitch though, 2 losses. Honestly, I don't know what's happened from our December form because unlike last year, we've kept all of our players in January and we've just loaned a couple of players out, and yet teams are absolutely stuffing us. On deadline day, we had a bid from Saudi Arabia for Samu, who I really don't want to lose, so I rejected it. But I did loan a lot of squad players out this month to gain first team football. January's over, but the losses kept coming. Thought we had a win in the bag at home to Sociedad. That was until they scored an equaliser in the 92nd minute. Then we travelled to Valencia, where we were gifted the most hilarious goal to kick things off. Couldn't prevent a goal at the other end though, and another clean sheet was gone for a 1-1 draw. Losing to Sevilla in the next match before we travelled to the Bernabeu. And it only took 7 minutes before Real Madrid broke us down and Vinicius opened the scoring. But instead of bowing down and accepting defeat, we remembered we beat them last time. We hit them on the break as Sanchez smashes in a volley. An attack down the left is then pulled back to Luis and then to Morlanes, and we are ahead. Surely we can't beat Real Madrid both times this season. Well, Morgana got caught on the ball, and that mistake leads to Valverde making it 2-2. However, fantastic play leaves Luis in space, whose shot comes back off the post, and Malambo taps it in, and it's 3-2. We've just beat Real Madrid both times this season. We've also lost to Barcelona both times right after though. But with a good run of games, now towards the end of the season, can we make a late push into those European spots? And yes, we are Real Madrid's only 2 losses this season. I am a genius manager.
Like the LeBron James of soccer?
Definitely.
We started strong after the Barcelona match by beating Alaves 1-0, but then we lost to Girona despite equalising when we were down to 10 men, and we actually lost that to a 97th minute goal as well. But thankfully we went back to winning ways and performing really well, with both Viper and Sanchez picking up goals against Espanyol. Dardé scored 2 goals in an away game to Sporting. This was a pretty scrappy one, but the second was even worse, as he scored off the back of someone else's wayward shot, smacking him straight on the stars. We won that game 4-2 with Prestiani and Viper also scoring. But the rest of the month included a 1-1 draw Atletico Madrid after a late equaliser, and a loss to Celta Vigo, meaning we only creep into 9th place with 4 games remaining. But that's when we really turned things up for a European push. First with a win against Las Palmas at home, thanks to goals from Prestiani and Malambo, followed by an away 3-0 win to Granada, and another 3-0 win at home to Levante, with Prestiani scoring yet another goal. So with our last game of the season being away to Real Betis, we have 1 game and an outside chance of finishing 7th place, which is a European spot. Small chance, but still. And it was another defensive mistake, and Real Betis take the lead. However, it was that man Prestiani who once again scores to pull us level before half-time. And in the second half, Samu, despite rumours of leaving, scores the winner for us in one of the hardest grounds to travel to. So a fantastic run of 4 wins at the end of the season, but it wasn't quite enough, and we miss out by a couple of points, finishing 9th once again. But let's take a look at the development of our young squad. Yes, it wouldn't be youth to gold if we didn't dive into the development of players. And starting off with a 9.7 training rating, Rafael Luis, who looks absolutely exceptional. There's a reason why I made this man one of my number 1 targets in season number 1. He's already wanted Southampton by a transfer. They're going to have to pay a lot more money than that. I don't want to let this guy go. He's only 20. We bought him for £6.75 million. That looks like a steal. He's had a great season for us, and he keeps progressing really, really well. A lot of 15s in there now. Natural fitness is 17. Strength of 15. I'm buzzing with him. Nelson Viper. A lot of pressure on his shoulders. Not necessarily done that well in actual games, but he is progressing. His attributes are getting better. We can see bravery's come back up. He had a big injury halfway through the season where he tore his quad, I think. He's got better. I'm also training to likes to beat the offside trap because he has good pace and good off-the-ball ability. That will really help his game if he manages to learn how to do that. Prestiani, he's got a very good core to him. He has developed really well considering where we bought him. But on the pitch, he's arguably been our best player out of the ones that we've looked at recently. Definitely been performing, especially at this back end of the season. Malambo, I don't know with Malambo whether it was a good decision to bring him in or not. He's had a good training rating for this season. I don't think he has developed as much as what I hoped he would after one season. He's 20 years of age now. I'd like to have seen a little bit of a better player. I think there's a reason why nobody wants him. Rostom was more of a squad player, but he's actually developed quite well. I mean, how many games is he actually? 26 games. He started 12 of them, so he's done quite well. That's not too bad. Let's have a look at Alexic, who was one of the Serbian strikers that I signed. Was a risk because he has really low natural fitness. I think I bought this player in the looking towards maybe being a bit more of a backup, but also so I can flip for more money. You can see he's worth a lot more than what we paid for him. £1.6 million. He only scored 1 goal out of 20 appearances, 8 from starting position, so not great. Sertdemir, that's worrying if you ask me. I'm not too pleased with that. He has a balanced personality. I'm wondering whether he is not very professional because that is quite worrying. And I think we might make a loss on him. £2.3 million. And we might be able to sell him actually because he is wanted by Brighton. Or we might try and flip him and see if we can make some money back. Morgala, there's a lot of great players that we have brought in recently. Morgala has made mistakes that you've seen, but I think he's been solid for us. 20 years of age, he can play in 2 different positions. His development's been quite good, and he's got a good average rating for where we are in the league, 6.89. We've relied on him a lot. 33 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists. I'm more than happy with Morgala. I really like what he's brought to the table. Outside of the first team, we've got a few players who are first team candidates in the development centre now. The guys that we signed on a free at the end of last season, they're turning 18 or 19 now and could be pushing for a first team spot next season. 19-year-old goalkeeper in Wolsey, I'm unsure with. I need to speak to you about the goalkeeper situation though. And De Bayo looks okay, maybe nothing too special. Now the goalkeeper situation, as I mentioned, youth to gold, usually you don't play any players once they're past 30. We couldn't avoid that. We had too many players who are above 30 or above. We only have one left now who would be 30 during this season. That's the goalkeeper Rajkovic. Now, he is injured for a little bit, but not too long. He will turn 30 in October, on Halloween. That's going to be our only player next season. He will be 30 or over. So, if we do look to sell him, which he is wanted, and we bring in a new goalkeeper, then we will be completely clean for youth to gold for the next 2 seasons. And I like that a lot. Despite seeing fantastic growth in a lot of our youngsters, our top scorers only having 12 goals across the season is rather worrying. And at this point, I'm still unsure whether it's the system or the players. However, the board have set a transfer budget for the next season at 16 million. Just like last season, I've also asked the board if I can have more scouts and improve the youth network and training facilities. The scouts that I do have continue to find fantastic players for me all across Europe though, and the rest of the world. So I've got to work adding some of my favourite talents to my shortlist, including some new gens as well. The board have accepted our request for more scouts and gave us 2 more. Our facilities have actually been downgraded due to technological advances, but thankfully the board have agreed to improve the youth recruitment and planned new training facility complex to go ahead. Brian have put in an offer for Sertdemir. However, I think we can get a little bit more out of them, and we pushed them up. And considering we only paid £2.3 million for him, profit is profit. Complications though, as he did have a work permit rejected originally. Still a bit of a work in progress with the tactic. I'm going to try this shape for the start of the season and see how it plays out. Losing that centre midfield spot has allowed me to try and sell Antonio Sanchez, and Genoa have made a good bid, as well as Sertdemir has a work permit and is now sold. Newcastle have put in a bid for our goalkeeper Rajkovic. However, I cannot find any decent replacements right now, so I'm going to really make them pay for it, and they aren't prepared to go that high. But this infuriated Rajkovic, and he is just up for leaving at the end of his contract, which runs out at the end of this season. I just really don't think the 19-year-old Nigerian goalkeeper is quite ready for first-team football yet. With a new scout coming in though, I've set up a recruitment focus to look out for first-team players. This is players who my scouts rate as at least 3-star, which is roughly what my starting position in my lineup would be. And I've got a new scout, Flavio Costa, who is absolutely exceptional and has 20 adaptability on that task. We also had 2 scouts poached from us, so hiring in a couple more meant that we can add a new recruitment focusing in on Asia. We haven't got anybody there yet, so I'm going to send a few scouts out there to have a look at Japan and South Korea. And almost immediately, these scouts were finding some incredible talents. One of the first transfers that I decided to try and make though was Dominik Babic, who is a striker, a Croatian 18-year-old from Osijek. They didn't want too much money, but eventually I managed to get them down just below £4 million with add-ons. Another player that kept showing up in my scout reports was Junior Krupi, who is a fantastic centre attacking midfielder or striker, and I'm very interested in trying to bring him in. Unfortunately though, Lorient are playing hard to get, and I might have to go up to £10 million. The scouts that I sent to Asia found an insane Japanese 16-year-old right back by Satoshi Kawasaki. Unfortunately for me though, as great as he looks, speaking to his agent, he has no interest in signing for Mallorca right now. A positive though is that our Krupi bid was accepted despite other clubs having bids rejected. We can offer him a new contract. I'm happy to give him what he wants, just as long as he makes that minimum fee release clause a much higher fee. But we've got to find ourselves a new goalkeeper, as we've just accepted a bid for Rajkovic for up to £13.5 million from Watford. And annoyingly, the obvious target in Dennis Seaman has just joined Leverkusen literally days before. But then Rajkovic rejected Watford. So I've begun to scout for a new goalkeeper just in case. However, I can't find one that actually wants to join me right now. Someone who has decided to join us though is Junior Krupi. He turns down a number of different clubs to join Mallorca because he believes in the Youth to Go project. But that transfer still leaves us with about £16 million in the bank. Atalanta this time are taking a bid at our goalkeeper Rajkovic, but I'm being very strict and I'm not letting him go for anything less than 15 million. We got some smart business done by selling Hugo Baracina to Juventus just after getting him on a free transfer the season before for £2.5 million. But already it's that time for the first game of the season and we've got Girona away from home, and unfortunately we've got some injuries and suspensions. However, we powered through and started very well with Prestiani setting up Samu for the first goal. Samu then had another shot which deflected off Krupi to make it 2-0, and Samu played a big part in the next goal scored by new boy Krupi again, an unbelievable strike to make it 3. In the second half, the right back Giai was slightly injured, but he managed to find Ibrahimovic, who found Samu, and he got his second goal, curling one into the top corner. Girona did fight back slightly though, and they managed to pull a goal back through Vallejo, but it was still 4-1 and there was still 25 minutes left, and Junior Krupi took a free kick and substitute Labarra scored to make it 5. A cracking start to the season for the Mallorca boys. Back to transfers though, and I've decided to make a bid for Miguel Pons at Getafe, a young striker with not a lot of pace, but he does have a good potential and great promise, and I finally got a bid accepted for him for just over £1.5 million with add-ons. My number one target from now on though is the defender that I found myself, and I got my scouts to have a look and they backed it up. It's the Turkish centre-back Sarakaya of Trabzonspor. I got a bid accepted because of a release clause of £13.5 million. This guy looks amazing. However, he wasn't interested in talking with me because he has just signed a new contract rather recently. Our next opponents might not have been the best in the league, but we still put on a great performance, with Nelson Viper scoring the first goal and Ariane Ibrahimovic scoring our second. We weren't as clinical in the next match though against Espanyol, as the game finished 2-2. Back to winning ways against Sevilla though, with the first goal being scored by Nelson Viper at the near post, and a second came thanks to the returning Dardai, who just come back from injury, and now that he's up to fitness, he's scoring goals. He also got another one in the second half in this 3-1 win, brilliantly assisted by Rafael Luiz. And that remarkably sees us go top of La Liga thanks to both Real Madrid and Barcelona drawing 2 games already. The transfer window is now closed. Miguel Pons has joined the club, 1.5 up to 1.7. He's got fantastic technicals, good mentals, but I'm worried a little bit about the physical, so I don't know whether he will ever make it into the first team, but it's so cheap that we can flip him anyway. That's not too worried about that. Angel Galan was another player for 175k. That again, fantastic mentals, but other aspects of his game needs work, but he's only 17, so there's time for that. I still have £19 million in my transfer kitty, and I've left it because I need to sign that FA Sarakaya before he turns 20. So right now, he is refusing to sign because of that new contract in July, but if I maybe wait until October, November, before he turns 20 on the 30th of November, I can officially sign him. He won't join until January when he actually is 20, but as long as I confirm the signing before then then that's happy days. He's £13.5 million. Well worth it in my opinion. He'll be a starting centre-back. We took our first loss of the season, unfortunately, in the next game against Atletico Madrid. It was an away fixture, but a 4-2 defeat. Back to gaining 3 points against Getafe at home, though. 5-2 was the victory, with Nelson Viper scoring 2 goals, a fantastic header at the back post there, and another one from a set piece after a corner quite late on. My favourite goal in this fixture, though, was the second goal that put us 2-0 up. And that was thanks to Rafael Luiz, but the build-up play was absolutely exceptional, with both centre attacking midfielders getting involved. A wonderful team goal. We continue to play outstanding football in the next match away to Villarreal in a 4-3 victory, but once again our midfield was absolutely incredible and played Villarreal's midfield off the park. We scored some fantastic goals and had 4 different goal scorers. A 0-0 draw to end the month though wasn't too disappointing, because we were still sat in 3rd place behind Barcelona and Real Madrid, who've caught us up, and we're only 3 points behind top of the table. And as soon as we got to the 1st of October, I made a bid for Efe Sarakaya, the Turkish centre-back I mentioned earlier, and this time he was willing to join us. We offered him a fantastic contract, hopefully that he will accept straight away and we can get the deal done before he turns 20. He accepted the deal, and I think that this is the perfect bit of business to get done to help us out in our European push towards the end of the season. On the pitch though, for some reason we keep playing Real Madrid and Barcelona in back-to-back games, and that didn't help us in the league table, and we lost both fixtures 2-1. And in the Barcelona game, I felt like we were quite unlucky. We went 1-0 up early on, but they fired back with 2 second-half goals, with the second being scored very late on from Lamine Yamal. We didn't let it affect our confidence though in the next fixture away to Levante. We absolutely dominated the game, scoring 2 fantastic goals, with Prestiani getting the first and Dardai getting the second very late on. However, those 2 losses to Barcelona and Real Madrid do see us drop down in the 6th place in the league. November was a mixed bag of fixtures, with 1 win, 1 loss and 1 draw, and that does see us drop even further into 7th place. But I still think we have a very good chance of pushing for that European spot. Nelson Viper is very much in form, with 9 goals so far in 13 fixtures in the league. He's developed that player trait of likes to beat the offside trap, and overall his development is looking really good. The bad news is that Samu has damaged his cruciate ligament and will be out for up to 7 months. That's his season over. Morlanes can fill in next to Rafael Luiz, but maybe I'll have to look in January for some extra legs in midfield. Although we have some decent enough replacements right now, I still feel like it did affect our performances on the pitch, as we began to draw games that we really should be winning. A game we did win was a 2-0 home victory against Valencia. Nelson Viper with the penalty in the 17th minute, and Bent Dardai scored in the 49th minute with a wonderfully worked goal. He also scored a 3rd crucial goal away to Athletic Bilbao in a 3-1 victory, which really put the game to bed. And I've been very happy with his performances as well as his development. After a completely unbeaten December, we slipped back up the league table just behind the top 4. More talented prospects are there for us to approach with just 6 months left in their contracts, but we're really struggling because we have little to no budget. In January, we could finally put new signing Efe into the starting lineup as he completes his move from Turkey. Another fantastic performance all round, a 5-1 win, and again we are scoring some absolutely beautiful goals, just like our first when we opened the scoring through Malambo. He's had a nice run of games recently and he's really impressed me despite the lack of development. Nelson Viper fell ill just before a big game against Celta Vigo, who are right next to us in the league. However, Junior Krupi played up front and scored within 4 minutes. And we battered them 5-1, creating a nice little gap between us and Celta Vigo in 6th place and going level on points with Real Sociedad. So I think I can finally say we're going into stage 3 of Youth to Gold. Our players are now developing, adapting well to our tactic. Now we just need to wait and get better and better and fill in the positions in behind them, so that when we do have to sell them and the inevitability happens and clubs come in for our best players, we have replacements in there ready to jump in. We could also have a good run in the Cup on our hands this season as we progress through to the 3rd round of the Copa del Rey against Levante. I'm constantly getting told about how good Prestiani is developing in training, and you can definitely see that in his attributes. Another 4-1 win in the league, as well as a 5-0 win in the Cup. We're having a fantastic time towards the end of January. Of course, after winning every single match that month, you kind of expect results to not go our way soon, and we fell behind to Sevilla. But thanks to a very good attack down the right-hand side, it was that man Nelson Viper who used his head once again to equalise and win man of the match. I jinxed us as well when I said we'd have a good run in the Cup, because we are now out of the Copa del Rey. Back to winning ways in La Liga though, as we defeated Getafe 4-0 with 2 goals from Nelson Viper. And once again, both the goals came off his head. Honestly, you couldn't write what happened in the next match. He scored 2 more goals, again both from headers. The man is absolutely exceptional in the air, and we just keep crossing the ball up to him and he keeps finding the back of the net. Real Betis have clearly done their scouting on us though, because they prevented us from using that tactic and beat us 3-2 with a goal in the 95th minute. But with 2 games in hand over 4th place and on the same points, we were in prime position for finishing the top 4 this season, and Nelson Viper is currently the top scorer of La Liga with 1 more goal than Robert Lewandowski. And we played Lewandowski's side next, and we even took the lead right on the stroke of half-time through Morlanes. And yet, despite Lewandowski being taken off on the 67th minute, Barcelona still found a way to equalise quite late on, but we will definitely take the point at Camp Nou. We also beat Atletico Madrid in March thanks to 2 amazing goals, the first one being scored by a new Turkish centre-back FA, with the second being scored on the 29th minute from Dardai, using the outside of his foot. Beating Levante in the league was great, but we unfortunately lost to Real Sociedad, who keep themselves above us in the league, although we do have a game in hand still. Kicking things off in April with a draw to Osasuna was not great preparation for our match that was coming up against Real Madrid. Before we faced them though, it was an away trip to Celta Vigo, where fortunately for us, Nelson Viper was on form to score a rare goal with his right foot, and although Celta Vigo did equalise in the second half, Dardai managed to score a winning goal and we take all 3 points. But the match against the current champions Real Madrid was such a tight game that only 1 goal separated the 2 teams, and that came from the unbelievable Prestiani, who scored for Mallorca. We followed that with another win against Alaves with 2 more goals from Nelson Viper, and that led us to crack the top 4 behind Atletico Madrid, which also guarantees Europa League football next season, with Nelson Viper scoring 25 league goals now. But this might have been where the inexperience of our young team stopped us from continuing our amazing run, because we somehow drew the remaining 4 fixtures, which seen us drop down behind Real Sociedad in the league into 5th place, 4 points behind them. But Nelson Viper, only scoring 1 more goal this season, still picked up the golden boot. Still, I think we can be really happy with that performance, and let's dive into the development of these fantastic superstars that we have had this season. Starting off with Junior Krupi. It's his first season. He's played 40 games for us, 9 goals, 6 assists, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from the development of this player. A lot of green arrows. His attributes have definitely increased. I'm going to start looking at player traits a little bit more for this man, because I'm quite unsure whether I want him to stay as that shadow striker or maybe move him up, but Nelson Viper's just been way too good. Now, speaking of Nelson Viper, he of course was our top scorer, and as you can see, he just looks incredible. He's been fantastic for us. He is wanted, which does worry me. Aston Villa, Palace and Gladbach, the teams that are wanting him, don't worry me as much. I think we should be able to keep hold of him for now, but his valuation is very tasty indeed. Looking back at the age group then, Babic didn't play that much, unfortunately, and he's going to be a casualty of how good Nelson Viper played with only 2 games this whole season and no goals. So I'm a little bit disappointed that we couldn't give him more game time, but we just played so well. Prestiani was absolutely incredible with 12 assists this season. He's really come into his own. Those physicals are beautiful. I think he's going to be a star player for us, and nobody wants him right now, which does surprise me. Dardai, I might actually cash in on him. I'm a little bit unsure because, I mean, his value's a little bit low, but 12 goals, 13 assists, absolutely insane. Ibrahimovic, unfortunately, hasn't played that much. He's been kicking off about it. Still quite decent. I'm really happy with our new signing, though, coming in and doing the business. He's been solid for us since he has come in. Downward arrows, but I don't worry about that too much because he already is a good La Liga player. He's only age 20. I don't know whether he has a lot of potential in the game, but still, I quite like him. Malambo's been a bit more of a squad player this season, but he has actually developed quite well, which I'm happy with. And I think bringing other players in has definitely helped him have a bit of a rest. Speaking of a rest, Rafael Luiz deserves one. Sammy's been out injured for the majority of the second half of the season, and Rafael Luiz has carried the ship in midfield with Morlanes. Absolutely incredible player. Morgala has been great for us. A bit of an unsung hero, I must admit, because we haven't conceded that many goals this season. Our defence has been solid, and when FA came in, those two have cracked up a lovely little partnership, and he has been great for us. A lot less mistakes than what he was getting last season. Glay and that right-hand side, he's solid. Maybe I can look for a better player in the future, but for right now, he's as good enough as what we need, and he's got us into European football. Now, what I need to look at, I mean, development centre, we've only got really Miguel Pons who's in there right now. This is what the next stage is going to be, is filling out our development centre. We need better players to be coming through in the future. Right now, this is going to be our first team squad for the next couple of years because there's not a lot of options to be replacing them. In our scouting shortlist that I have got for the future prospects, as we can see, I've only got 5 players in there, but interested is only 1. Luckily, it's the goalkeeper because we are losing Rajkovic on a free transfer. He's going to be the last old player that we have in the side, and David Medina looks to be the replacement that I can bring in right now. There are not a lot of good goalkeepers who are teenagers for us to bring in. That's the most solid position to find if in Youth to Gold completely. But just to give you a bit of an inkling, I mean, I was looking at this guy who's Indonesian. I found him absolutely fascinating. 2-star ability, but he's already moving to Liverpool. He never wanted to join us anyway, left back. But look how good Yannick Behrens is. Unreal player for 17. However, he doesn't want to join us, and Bayern Munich have been sniffing around him, as well as Premier League sides. And then it's the 2 Japanese players that my scouts found very early. Haven't found any others since, but that guy could be the Glay replacement at right back should he ever wants to join us, and Kenji Sakamoto as a goalkeeper, maybe in the future, could be somebody else that we bring in. After 26 league goals, Nelson Viper also won La Liga Player of the Year. He was the only Mallorca player to make the team of the season though. And despite us finishing in the European slots, the board have only given us £11 million. A bid from Saudi Arabia came in for Dardai, and I tried to push them a little further and asked for 20 million instead of 15, but they rejected. Of course, losing our goalkeeper Rajkovic put us in a tricky position, and we had to go for a youngster, David Medina, because there was simply no good goalkeepers under 20 years of age that would be interested in joining us. An offer came in for Capete, a centre-back that we sparsely used last season, but we have 3 very good young centre-backs coming through, so I'm willing to accept the offer. And at this rate, I'll be spending all of that transfer budget on Japanese players because my scouts keep finding insane talents in that country. Dardai has finally agreed to leave the club, as well as unfortunately for a lot less money than their original bid. However, I do think it's still worth selling him for this amount, and we try and bring somebody in who has better potential to become a better player in the long run. I did decide, however, to sign a second goalkeeper. Again, another talent from Japan called Sakamoto for just 2.1 million. I found my Dardai replacement in Danish winger Frank Jensen, who can play in that attacking midfield role, and I believe can be an instant improvement on Dardai that has a release clause that we activated. And again, another player from Denmark that's just way too good to resist bringing in. A quality centre-back option at Brøndby that has a £6 million release clause. And because of suspensions and injuries, we have to rely on that centre-back to actually start in the first match against Sevilla away from home. And we started very well after Nelson Viper scored after just 3 minutes. And just before half-time, Sevilla ended up scoring a goal of their own, and in the second half, they continued to pile the pressure on, found a second goal, and we've got nothing to answer for, and we lost 2-1. We also had the disappointing news of losing Junior Creepy for up to 2 months. A rough start of the season continues. We also lost to Atletico Madrid at home, and the fans started to criticise my tactics, which is the same tactics that got us European football last season. There were no complaints in the next match though, as we absolutely decimated Levante away from home, 5-2. There was a lot of standout performers, but the man of the match, rightfully so, went to Prestiani as he scored himself a very good hat-trick. Unfortunately, the exact same starting 11 went out against Girona at home, putting in 20 shots on goal and couldn't score 1. Our 5th place finish last season was actually enough to gain us automatic qualification for the Champions League, and our fixtures are looking rather tough. Deadline day though, and Newcastle come in for Rafael Luiz for £39 million, which is nowhere near his value, so it's an instant reject. Of course though, he doesn't like this and wants to discuss leaving the club to go to Newcastle, and eventually we agree on a £69 million asking price. Naughty. Deadline day did close before that though, and we signed a Nigerian midfielder that our scouts found in Africa, who was so cheap I instantly just put a bid in. I thought September was going to be a difficult month when we faced Granada away from home, and they scored against a run of play, but thankfully we kept plugging and Nelson Viper scored an equaliser just 10 minutes later, and from that our performance really outshone Granada and Rafael Luiz scored a second. But the man of the match was our new signing Frank Jensen, who picked himself up his first goal for the club and getting our 3rd on the day. Our first game in the Champions League, and we're leading 2-1 against Copenhagen quite late on, and they scored through Emil Højlund. And they thought they got themselves an equaliser, but in the 93rd minute, our new Danish centre-back scored us the winner, which I bet that lad was buzzing with because he came from Copenhagen's fierce rivals, Brøndby. I was a little shocked in the next match when we faced Real Madrid because they had Danny Namasso up front, who I've just seen they have bought in from Porto last season for £49 million. The English striker absolutely tormented our defence, scoring a goal within the first 5 minutes. He was then poaching in the box when a second shot came in from a Madrid player, deflected off of him and made it 2-0 after just 10 minutes. He was then given the duty of taking the penalty to score his hat-trick, and Medina saved it. Nelson Viper also took a penalty, but he made sure he scored it, and in the second half, Nelson Viper was in the box again when the ball was launched in, and his header crept into the top corner to make it 2-2. In the 91st minute as well. But we followed that high with a bad loss to Liverpool in the Champions League and a decent draw to Valencia. And those 2 goals from Viper puts him in the league's top scorer, despite us being 11th place in La Liga. Another goal in the league for Frank Jensen in the first match in October against Real Betis. But still, we could only draw the game 3-3. At home to Real Sociedad though, and more misery piled on when Oyarzabal opened up the scoring. However, in the second half, one man changed the course of this game, and that was Anthony Malambo. He scored 2 goals to put us back in front before securing his hat-trick from the penalty spot, and still had time to perfectly stay onside in his own half in the 91st minute, beat the keeper and score a 4th. But we were then pumped by the same scoreline by Bilbao, and 4-1 was unfortunately also the score when we faced Barcelona in the Champions League, who now have just signed Jack Grealish. We played Barcelona in the league just days after playing in the Champions League at home this time, but we still lost 3-2. Despite those 3 losses on the bounce, we started very well against Villarreal, and Krupi scored within 4 minutes. But a defensive mishap sees Gerard Moreno go through on goal and equalise. We weren't rocked by this though, picked ourselves up, and Jensen put us back in front. And 10 minutes later, Viper made it 3 and we were off. Finishing the game 5-2 rather comfortably, but after those earlier losses, we sit in 9th place, even though we've played 2 more games than the clubs around us. We looked incredibly out of our depth in the Champions League though, with our next fixture against Porto resulting in a 3-1 loss. They played us off the park and Gonzalo Borges scored 2 goals. Our league form improved, and we won the following match 2-0 away to Almeria, with both goals being assisted by that man Prestiani, taking that form into a 5-1 win, with 2 goals from Rafael Luiz, who looks better and better attribute-wise every time I see him. Biggest win of the season so far though, as we travelled to Munich and turned Bayern over 1-0, and then conceded 4 goals in a draw to Celta Vigo. But still, that good run of games sees us slowly climb the league table up to 7th place. Annoyingly, we were in a spell of drawing games this season, with another 0-0 against Sevilla and a 1-1 against Espanyol. And from 3 draws on the bounce, we face Ajax next in the Champions League and absolutely destroy them 4-0. Only 1 goal was scored in the first half through Junior Krupi right on the stroke of half-time, but after that, the floodgates open and Rafael Luiz scored a 2nd. Malambo scored a very good 3rd, but the goal of the evening was Samu as he brought the ball down and buried one into the bottom corner of his left foot, which then continued to run, now extending to 10 games unbeaten in all competitions, with another 6-2 victory, and a 4-1 and a 3-0, which now sees us jump up to 5th place in the league and win 3 games from 6 in the Champions League. Bids started to come in from our players now, seeing as it's January, and with Arsenal trying to sign Prestiani. However, he has been exceptional for us, and there's no way I'm selling him for £50 million. I must say though, an unsung hero so far this season is David Medina. The 18-year-old Spanish goalkeeper has put in some very good performances considering his ability and being chucked into first-team football at such a young age. We played Osasuna at the start of January and beat them 5-0 in a great performance, and it was topped off by one of my favourite goals I've seen this season, that header from Nelson Viper. Our unbeaten run finally ended at the hands of Atletico Madrid as they defeated us 2-1. After failing to sign Prestiani, Arsenal also tried to sign Rafael Luiz. We rejected though and played back-to-back games in the Champions League, starting off with a win against Celtic with Prestiani scoring a 91st minute winner, followed by a 2-0 win against Monaco away from home with an unbelievable volley from our centre-back, and topped off by that Nelson Viper goal, securing a 13th place spot in the league phase and into the playoff round. Either side of those Champions League games was a 5-1 win in the Copa del Rey 3rd round and a 4-0 win against Levante in the league. The January transfer window closed right there though, and there were some bids, but I rejected them and no transfers came in or out. We are still sitting in the league table comfortably just outside the top 4 though. And in the 4th round of the Copa del Rey, we face Espanyol at home, and thankfully for us, Junior Krupi was absolutely incredible. Scored himself a hat-trick in a 5-2 win with some fantastic goals. But then we lost in the quarter-final right after against Bilbao. Back to winning ways against Girona in the league, away from home with a 3-2 victory. And straight into a 5-3 win. We are scoring a lot of goals. After just beating them in the league phase the month before, we were drawn against Celtic in the Champions League, and the first leg was at Celtic Park in Glasgow. We fell behind to a wonderful Matt O'Reilly goal, but Nelson Viper equalised 3 minutes later and then scored a penalty to put us 2-1 up. But Celtic fought back just 5 minutes after that, and the game finished 2-2. Before the second leg, we headed to the Bernabeu against Real Madrid, who absolutely dominated the match despite us taking the lead on the 20th minute. And after that Prestiani goal, we held Real Madrid off to only one goal of their own, with the game finishing 1-1. We took some notes on how Real Madrid controlled the game against us and applied it in our second leg against Celtic, winning the game 3-0 with 2 goals from Junior Krupi. And then forgot all about that, and then we lost to 10-men Real Betis 1-0. Our first loss in the league for a while was then followed by a win at home to Napoli in the Champions League, but an incredibly difficult month ahead. We then held Napoli 1-0 on aggregate in the round of 16 second leg, all the way to the 95th minute when they finally broke us down to send the game into extra time. And we never recovered from that devastation, and they scored the winner in extra time first half. That one was an absolutely rough one to take. I also blame that on the reason why we were destroyed 4-1 by Barcelona in the next match. We were back to winning ways soon after, and back to scoring a lot of goals too. 6-2 home victory against Valencia, and then a cracking win away from home, one of the toughest places to go in La Liga, away to Villarreal, 91st minute from Junior Krupi. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, our run towards the end of the season, I dare say, is not as bad as what we were originally thinking, considering we are 5th in the league. We stand a very good chance of catching Real Sociedad ahead of us, and maybe even challenge that top 4, top 3. Who knows? Overtaking Sociedad, though, might have been much easier if it weren't for the fact that we lost against them 2-1 despite taking the lead on the 15th minute. We also lost 4-1 to Real Valladolid, however. After being incredibly inconsistent throughout April, winning the other 3 games and scoring a lot of goals, we sit in 5th place, 2 points behind 4th, but played a game more. It didn't really matter how good we were in the remaining fixtures, even as we went unbeaten in the last 3 games, because Real Sociedad went on a mad run and won their last 5 fixtures in the league, making our last few fixtures redundant in getting us into the top 4, but still we held off the other sides from leapfrogging us and keeping our 5th place. Could mean Champions League football next season, but what a season Nelson Viper has had. Golden Boot winner again, and Prestiani picks up the most assists and the most man of the matches. Now, currently that still puts us in the Europa League spots as a guarantee, but we could potentially be bumped up to the Champions League like we was this season. But let's take a look at the development dive time, and we're going to start off with the loan players that have gone out. I'm a little bit worried about Miguel Pons. He's a striker who went on loan into La Liga 2 at Huesca, and he hasn't scored a goal this season in 19 games. I know a lot of the time he came off the bench, which I'm a little bit annoyed with. Attribute-wise, he looks great. I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't score at all. That does worry me a little bit, because Popovic got 17 goals in 44 appearances in the same league, and I don't think he looks nowhere near as good. So maybe we can look to possibly sell Popovic for a bit of profit. We only brought him in for £2.9 million, and he is worth a little bit more. That could be something we do. And Wolsey's been out on loan. He hasn't played that much either. I'm quite concerned. Diao, I probably will look to sell this season and bring in a profit. He came in on a freebie, so that's not too bad. Alexic scored 21 goals. Absolutely insane. I'll maybe look to bring him back into the rotation because we haven't really got a backup. We've been playing Junior Krupi up front. Possibly we could look to bring him in rotation, or we look to sell him. Ibrahimovic, I think it's time to sell. He keeps requesting to leave. That's the reason why he's out on loan to begin with. And he did do really well on loan. So that could be an option for us, absolutely. Dulgilis, I don't know about whether he's actually going to turn into anything good or not. He looks okay. On loan, he had a great time in the second division at Tenerife, so who knows? Let's have a look at some first team players, though. Nelson Viper is our top goal scorer, of course. He played insane. A lot of 14s in there. I don't know whether he's going to grow anymore. That's my only concern with Nelson Viper, but he is scoring the goals for us right now. West Ham and Roma are in for him, and like I said, we haven't really got a replacement for him yet, so for now, he's got one more goal in one extra game than what he did the season before. We can't complain too much. We just keep on doing what he's doing, really. Junior Krupi, though, has really stepped up, and I'm absolutely buzzing with his development, not to mention his performances on the pitch as well. Just 20 years of age. The guy's been insane for us this season. 11 goals, 9 assists with a very good average rating. Absolutely over the moon with our number 10. Jensen's come in and just bedded into the team perfectly. Frank Jensen, the Danish 18-year-old. How good is he? for an 18-year-old. Like, that is a bargain player that we've picked up there for 6.7 million. 13 goals and 10 assists. Absolutely signing of the season. One of probably the best signing that we have made so far in Youth to Gold. Because Prestiani I knew would be good. And 27 assists is absolutely disgusting. A current ability of only 3 is worrying. He is also unhappy. He wants a new deal. I'm more than happy to give you a new deal. 13 goals, 21 assists. A vast improvement to last season. Unbelievable performance from Prestiani. So happy with that one. Malambo has played a bit more of a squad role, but he's still done very well. His development's kind of hampered by that. Rafael Luiz, I'd be surprised if we managed to keep him for a couple of more seasons because some big clubs are coming in and he has strapped a £69 million valuation to him. Inter Milan are now wanted, but I will be obviously looking to see if we can bring in a replacement for Rafael Luiz because that's the whole point of Youth to Gold. Now's the time that we need to look to bring in the players that will replace Samu and Rafael Luiz. Samu, by the way, is 26 and he is also wanted by Norwich 2 seasons in a row. I think I could potentially find a player that's better than Samu. I haven't found any yet, but I think I could in the future. The backup, well, our centre-back that's come into the side has become from a backup to a starting player in power up from Bromby. Of course, he scored that fantastic goal against his former rivals, Copenhagen. Development-wise, he hasn't developed too much, but I'm still happy with his performance, and he's still only 18. So can't really complain again. He's been next to Effie most of the season. And Effie's done really well. He's come in absolutely solid, really good. Happy with him. Don't need to improve him. And Morgala has gone to the right-hand side. So that's been what the dynamic has looked like at the back. And the dynamic of Morgala going to right back is quite fluid, really, because he can play there quite well. Giai, who is usually there, still played 26 games, so he's not unhappy. We've got a good rotation there at the back. I'm more than happy with that. Tony Lato, majority of the time, plays left back. But David Medina, I mean, he has done wonders for us this season for a guy that I thought would be really, really out of his depth. Not at all. He's got a couple of man of the matches as well. He got 2 man of the matches. 9 clean sheets. Yes, he conceded 61 goals, and maybe if we had Rajkovic in goal this season, we would have finished in the top 4. But I don't think we can complain about a player who was just 18 years of age and keeping out a lot of other goalkeepers that we have signed. The rest of the signings, I'm not too sure about. Morlanes, I might look to offload at the end of this season. 28 now. That's time for him to go, in my opinion. And in the development centre, we've got Sakamoto, who was the other goalkeeper that I brought in. Hasn't played any games for either my youth side or my B team, and I don't know why, so I'm going to have to look at that and see if I can get him some game time next season. Galan is another one that's done quite well in Mallorca B team. 3 goals, 1 assist. Might be somebody that we look to bring into the rotation. And Felicimo actually is another player that I brought in at the end of last season on a free transfer that's done really well in Mallorca B team. Might be somebody I'll offload for a bit of profit because I don't think he's good enough to go into our starting 11. The players that we have brought in the youth intakes are not very good. We don't have very good structure or anything like that right now. We're still building that. That's still to come in the Youth to Go. Maybe stage 4, stage 5. We're still in stage 3 right now. We're looking at who we can bring in from our shortlist. There's a couple of players here. But unfortunately, only one of them is actually interested, and that's Lucien Toma. That could be a player that I bring in to replace for Samu. So we'll have to see whether that happens or not.
Prestiani was second only to Lamine Yamal for the Player of the Year in La Liga. And yet only Nelson Viper made it into the Team of the Season. Once again, the board are giving us minimal budgets for the summer. But I'm making moves early for Lucien Toma as well, as the real only CM prospect that I like the look of for the budget I have. And eventually we get a deal done for around £2.5 million accepted. My scouts have been very busy though and found me so many players to add to my shortlist, including this Colombian 18-year-old striker with outrageous attributes. He needs to work on some mentals, but how incredible does he look? And I got a £2 million offer accepted for him. I just couldn't resist. There's also a Turkish wonder kid at Trabzonspor that is fantastic, but a little bit pricey right now at 17 million, and has a player trait of comes deep to get the ball, which I'm not too keen on. The last player I'm going to try and bring in for now is a South African player that my scouts have found at Orlando Pirates, who could be a future star, but is so cheap, I might as well bring him in, eventually getting a deal accepted for less than 500k. And even his wages are really cheap. Well, he was going to be the last player in until I found this Hungarian centre-back who had a 400k release clause. He's 6'6" as well, with 50 in agility and 16 balance. But he ain't interested in joining though. So instead, I put in a bid for Neil Sau, and I'm not quite sure what type of player I want to mould him into just yet. Good news is, we are once again in the Champions League. And I'm also glad I went for Neil Sau, because Otavero decided to reject us and choosing to move to PSG instead, which is frustrating, but that's what happens, I guess. Finally though, after multiple attempts, Satoshi Kawasaki, the Japanese right back we've had on our radar for the last couple of seasons, is finally interested in talking to us. Shout out to Montolio, by the way, who we are bumping up to the first team after some good development. And with the new signings coming in, I'm open to accepting some bids for our backup right back Giard, with a view to start a bidding war on Samu, who Norwich has also put a bid in for. I also noticed that Tony Lato was turning 30 this season, and it's time to cash in and look for another left back. But we do have some bad news, as FA, our Turkish centre-back, broke his ankle and is out for a long time. With Tony Lato leaving, we need to bring in our new left-back, Cesar Torres, for just £1.6 million. And following Tony is both Morlanes and Samu. I'm not messing around this summer. With FA's ankle break, I went back for the Hungarian centre-back, and this time he was interested, and we get a deal done. Another request to upgrade the training facilities was accepted, as well as the youth facilities. Thank you. We also sold Anthony Malambo to Leverkusen for £10 million, which suggests we are entering stage 4. Stage 4 is when you start to sell that first bunch of players that you brought in youth to gold, and then you start bedding in either newer talent or improved talent because you develop them well in your youth side and you start to build up a nice big transfer budget. In Malambo's case, I'm intrigued to see how Miguel Pons as a shadow striker backup next season can do. He certainly has the attributes for it. My other option is to bring in Lovisi at Inter Milan, but he wants first team football over Krupi and Jensen. I can't give that right now. I also had a big offer in for Babic, which I still managed to negotiate higher. Not bad for a player we picked up for just 2.7 million. I feel like all we're doing right now is transfers, but it's my biggest window yet, and we have another Japanese wonder kid here with fantastic base attributes for just 3.6 million. And here we go, we finally have our first match of the season. With just 2 injuries, we field a very new looking team from the midfield down. And yet, even though we were fielding half of a new side, we took the lead early through the usual suspects Prestiani. And after half-time, Krupi doubled our lead. But right after, Ocampos scored a penalty, and just our luck, En-Nesyri scored an equaliser. Straight into a game away to Valencia, and Krupi scores from kickoff. We absolutely dominated this fixture, and before long, Frank Jensen doubles our lead. Learning from our mistake in the last game, after half-time, an attack down the left provided a perfect cross for Nelson Viper. Before our next match, we picked up an Argentine midfielder, Stan Bazzi, from River Plate for just 4.5 million. Although he didn't start, I gave a couple of starts to some new players, and it almost cost us, as we had to come from 2-0 down to win 3-2 with a 90th minute penalty. But then we took our first loss of the season next against Girona. We completed a signing 2 years in the making, as Okachukwu finally turns 18 and can move from his Nigerian home side. And that sees the transfer window draw to a close, and it's definitely been our busiest summer, but we come out of it with a lot of young talent either signed or moving up to the first team, with a lot of experience leaving the side. And with our transfer budget still at £46 million for more signings in January. Our next match, we faced the champions Barcelona, and they took the lead very early on through Jack Grealish. However, you would have thought that they were just the champions, because we completely dominated the match and pulled ourselves back level just 10 minutes later, then went on to take the lead through Frank Jensen. And Gavi was sent off on the 22nd minute, and against 10 men, we took advantage of the numbers game and we made it 3-1 in the second half. Jack Grealish could only pull back a second for Barcelona. We beat them 3-2 quite comfortably though. But from playing amazing against the Spanish champions in the Champions League, we were battered by Liverpool 2-0 with no sign of the performance that we put up against Barcelona. A draw to Alaves followed, and we finally got back on track with 2 1-0 wins, one in the Champions League, one in La Liga. We fell behind from the very first kickoff against Levante away from home, but thankfully we did pull one back quite quickly, and we turned the game back on its head when Nelson Viper scored a penalty, winning the game eventually 4-1. Straight into back-to-back losses at home. That's not good. This month was a poor one though, with 2 draws after those losses, and we have a very difficult November ahead of us, ending against Real Madrid, who are currently running away with the league, already 9 points ahead from second place Sevilla. Back to the Champions League, and we have to face another Spanish team, Atletico Madrid, away from home as well, but Nelson Viper was absolutely insane in this match, and he picked up 3 goals in total in a 5-2 victory, but he didn't even get man of the match. That was Frank Jensen, the Danish midfielder, who got 3 assists and 4 key passes. Overall though, perfect performance in the Champions League. And then we lose 2 games in a row again, just before facing Real Madrid. A very close affair at the Bernabeu, where the deadlock was broken by Nelson Viper from the penalty spot. In the second half though, they worked the throw in very well and gave Pedro Neto an opportunity that he took, smashing the ball into the top corner. But we still had one good opportunity ourselves when the ball was played to Krupi, and we had an amazing done down the right hand side and paid a perfect cross for Nelson Viper to score the winner. That loss gave Real Madrid their first loss of the season, and look at Sevilla, they dropped from 2nd to 11th in 1 month. But of course, in the match right after beating top of the division, we lose against Danish side Midtjylland at home 3-0. Outside of that Champions League loss, we put in some good performances. Viper got 4 goals against Tenerife and a 5-1 win. And it was good to see some supporting acts such as Takata scoring from midfield and attacking midfielder Jensen getting in on the action too. Who, by the way, could be the next best attacking midfielder in the world. Just 19 years old, and he is outstanding. But a good ending to the winter break, and lots of goals. Despite that freak loss, we sit in the top 4 of La Liga. One signing came through the door early in January, Andorran left-back from FC Andorra by the name of Victor Arce, who, just 16 years old, looks incredible already. Not bad for just £4.6 million either. We kicked off the new year with a great win against Atletico Madrid with a goal from the spot by Nelson Viper, and a cracking header from Frank Jensen in the second half. However, more bad results in January with a draw to Betis and a loss to Bilbao. And the end of the month also seen a draw to Valencia followed by a drumming by Sevilla. In the Champions League, we needed to get some results against AC Milan, but we could only grab a 1-1 draw at the San Siro, meaning we definitely needed to win against Newcastle at home and Prestiani sent us on our way there. Thomas scored a beautiful second before the Nigerian striker Okachukwu made it 3. Trincao did get a goal back from Newcastle, but it was too late. And that helped us just qualify for the playoff round in 20th place. And when the draw came around, we got pulled against AC Milan again. Our bad form in the league has seen us drop into 6th place, but it's all still very close between 8th and 2nd. Annoyingly, we've also been drawn against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey, and they knocked us out in the 4th round, 1-0 with a good goal from Gavi. And we cannot shake off the bad results either this season. In the Champions League though, we could pull off another incredible win against a very good AC Milan side, with goals from Rafael Luiz, Jensen and Viper. The second goal from Jensen was a calamity of errors by the Milan defence, but we still controlled the game and we deserved the win. Retegui scored Milan's only goal as we take a 3-1 lead back to the San Siro. And despite them scoring early, we still held them to a 2-2 draw, qualifying for the next round. Barcelona did also defeat us in the league during February, but outside of that, we picked up 3 La Liga wins, including a 4-1 win at home to Girona after conceding just 5 minutes into the match. And ending the month of February against Tottenham in the round of 16 of the Champions League, and in the first leg, only managing to salvage a 1-1 draw thanks to Junior Krupi's goal, who quite honestly has been phenomenal for us this last couple of seasons, and the development is beautiful to see. What wasn't beautiful to see was the beating Spurs gave us, knocking us out of the Champions League round of 16. In fact, the whole of this month was a write-off with only 1 win and 3 league draws, which created a 6-point gap between us and Sevilla in 4th place. The only upside was it was great to see Okachukwu scoring a couple of fantastic goals. At under-19s level, he scored 22 goals with 12 assists in just 19 games. April started with a home loss, and my top 4 hopes were starting to become worries of missing out of Champions League football. But a much needed win against Real Betis was exactly the response we were looking for. Even with a couple of key players missing from the lineup such as Nelson Viper, the lads still got a 3-0 win though, with Junior Krupi scoring 2 goals. Unfortunately for us, league leaders Real Madrid was what followed, giving us a 4-1 loss. A crucial win against an Almeria side pushing to steal our European spot though was good, and a dominant performance at home the Saturday after against Tenerife, and slowly we started to look ourselves again. My particular highlight for this match was the combination of our 2 Japanese players, Takata and Kawasaki, who linked up beautifully for both the 3rd and the 4th goals down that right hand side. Still, after that result, top 4 looked out of our reach and we looked destined for a 3rd, 5th place finish in a row. That was until Junior Krupi's 94th minute equaliser against Atletico Madrid, because we had already beaten Real Valladolid 3-1, and the extra point against Atletico kept us just 2 points behind Sevilla with 1 game remaining, and that's because they are on a losing streak right now and have Almeria to play on the final day of the season. And for some really odd reason, they played the day before everyone else and lost 3-1, so we just have to win to jump above them. Our opponents Bilbao had a good season, but within 6 6 minutes, we had already scored 2 goals and looked to control the game and claim that 4th place. And that's exactly what we did, winning 5-2 in the end. Just the performance we needed to overtake Sevilla to gain that 4th spot. But we are still some way off even 3rd place Villarreal at this point. Development dive time, and I think I really need to spend this next summer bedding out my under-19s. There's not enough players in here. We've got Neil Sau, obviously, who we've just brought in. A little bit of development there with him. Victor, who's come in as that left back. He is definitely nearly ready for first team football already. So we need to obviously bed him in, maybe even loan him out. This guy here, he looks phenomenal, but I don't remember buying him. Like, I spent 33k on him, so really cheap price, but he looks fantastic already. Some fantastic mental attributes in there, and with 15 passing, he looks really good. He's only 17 years of age. Joaquin Delgado. We've obviously got the 6'6" centre-back that we brought in from Hungary. A little bit of development in there, but not too much, if I'm honest. I think we really need to work on this guy being that ball-playing defender and get that passing up just a little bit, because the physicals there are phenomenal for a 6'6" guy. Kenji Sakamoto, I'm a little bit worried about his development. He's not getting enough game time, and I maybe need to start loaning him out, or maybe look to offload him. He's already worth more than what I bought him for anyway. And then Carbo comes in again as a player that I don't recognize buying, but I did for 1.1 million from Las Palmas. Good player, to be fair. Okay, let's have a look though at the Mallorca B team. There's a couple of players in here that we might feature within the next couple of seasons. David Sikahakane. Probably didn't nail that. That's the South African player that we signed at the start of the season. Not much development at all on the 19-year-old. I think a loan deal next season is going to be needed to a La Liga 2 side. That's probably where I'm going to aim for that. Popovic, players like this, I'm going to try and look to offload. That's a lot of them are actually running out of contract, and look to just start bedding in new talent and just really bulk out the youth teams. And Wozu's another one that I might look to sell off now. He's going to be worth a lot more than what I actually bought him for, and I'm never really going to use him because, to be frank, David Medina has been great. So there he is, David Medina. Straight away, 19 years of age. I think for now, he is going to be my number 1 goalkeeper for the next couple of years until I find the next goalkeeper, if you know what I mean. That goalkeeper that I found at a young age who's going to be way better than what he is. I just need to find him. That's the thing. I need to find him. Rafael Luiz is doing everything he can to just be one of the best midfielders in the game right now. Same as Junior Krupi. They both picked up injuries, annoyingly, but not too long. Junior Krupi looks incredible at 21. Frank Jensen, I mean, my scout's picking him up for, how cheap was it again in the Danish league? £6.75 million. Unreal. Absolutely unreal talent. Both-footed as well, pretty much. Moves into channels. Oh, very grateful for finding him. And his Danish counterpart, Gabriel Parup. Centre-back, he's been stonewall for me in that defence. 36 games, 1 assist. I don't remember him really getting injured that much. Really fantastic player. Nelson Viper, of course, 30 goals this season. Still fantastic. And he's one of the ones that I'm like, eventually I'm going to find somebody better. Because obviously there's some alarming attributes that you look and go, you're not going to win the Champions League with this guy, and he is wanted, and it's like, when do I cash in? Because he's £48 million. I need to wait until I find somebody who will obviously take the reins up front and score as many goals as Nelson. But for now, I can't find anybody who is that good. Cesar Torres, very good left back for us this season at 20 years of age for £1.6 million and playing 33 games and getting 10 assists. I can't knock that. That's unbelievable, really. Prestiani, of course, really good player for us. Not as good as what previous seasons have been, though, because last season he was phenomenal. This season, he has dropped off a little bit. It could be time to look at maybe a Prestiani replacement. Who knows? We'll have to have a look. Leandro Mogala, fantastic centre-back or right-back. He's been playing for us. I think he's just a solid squad player for us right now. We cannot knock how good, how valuable he is to the side in both of those positions. Definitely not looking to offload him. Takata was one that I thought I'd bring in and not play that much because of Lucien Toma. And then Takata started playing and playing very well. Now, he doesn't look that good there, but he's still been phenomenal for me. Satoshi Kawasaki, I mean, those two linking up was beautiful. We've seen that quite often, especially in that one game where they were part of the 2 goals, the 3rd and the 4th goal. Satoshi Kawasaki, it took a while to get him, but I'm really glad I've got him now. He hasn't played as many games as what I hoped. 26 with 7 off the bench. Maybe actually I'm being a little bit harsh there. He has played quite a lot with 4 assists. Then we looked at FA. Obviously, he had broken ankle at the start of the season, recovered well, and still played quite a lot of games, 26 in total. Will we look to maybe sell him on? He is wanted by Sevilla. I won't be selling him to a team in the same division, but I ain't going to sell him unless, obviously, I find a good replacement. Lucien Toma come in as more of a squad player. I thought he was going to be a starting player, but he hasn't complained too much. For £2.5 million, some of these are steals. Miguel Pons had a little bit more game time, of course, playing that shadow striker, coming off the bench a little bit more. I think it's definitely suited him instead of playing a striker role. Maybe he needs a little bit more game time, though, possibly a loan. That might be what I look at next season. Okachukwu, though, this was a surprise package for me, because when I signed him as a 16-year-old, turning 18, I thought I was signing just because he's so cheap, 300k. But he's come in and he's been such a good replacement when Nelson Viper needs a rest. He's scoring so many goals. His pace is unbelievable. He might be the guy that takes over Nelson Viper. But I need to see whether he can do it as a first-team starter, because 11 times he's played for me, but only 6 starts. And he's got 5 goals. So I don't know. That could be one that we look at, to be fair. So there's a few other players in there that we've obviously already looked at. But that's what I'm thinking. And right now, my scouts are still out, obviously, looking around. I've added a couple of more to the recruitment to be a bit more widespread, because we have a few more scouts, and that's exactly what I'm going to look at. But there's some fantastic players. I've noticed him on there a few times, to be fair, that I'm going to go through and see who I can bring in at the start of this season. There's Lovisi, who we looked at the start of the season. Could we look to bring him in, because his value is actually lower than what it was previously? That could be the Prestiani replacement. We'll have to find out next time. I know we only have £43 million in our transfer budget, but I'm willing to blow it all on potentially a generational talent who is already being described as world class. He's been on my shortlist for a couple of years now and is finally willing to talk and has a £40 million release clause. My thinking is that Jensen then switches from the middle of the pitch to the left-hand side, where he is already better than Prestiani. What will happen to Prestiani? I'm not quite sure. As of right now, there is no interest in him while he's injured. Yannick Behrens, though, luckily doesn't want an extortionate contract, and with other interests, I don't want to mess him around too much, so I just lowered the yearly wage rise, which he accepted. I don't know why he wouldn't want to join either. We are one of the league's feel-good stories of the season. It was also the first season that one of our players won the Next Gen award, with both of our Danish wonder kids making the top 3 and Jensen winning the award. Great news, Yannick Behrens joins the club, and we have just signed the best player under 20 years of age in the world. With this going through, it's important that I also keep on top of asking for improve the training and youth facilities every single season, as well as the youth recruitment network. As slowly, this is now up to 3.5 stars for training facilities. Take the wins when you can. The board are set to spend nearly £4 million on a new training complex, but rejected the youth facilities and the youth recruitment. A couple of weeks later, though, we receive a big offer for FA, and I have planned a replacement, so I'm going to accept. The replacement is this man, Masarika from FC Nordsjælland, who is, however, wanted by many bigger clubs, which could be a problem. A member of the very famous FC Nordsjælland Youth Academy, but a release clause of just £4.6 million, an absolute bargain if we can get him. So with the contract, he obviously prefers to move to other clubs, so I'm thinking we just offer way over what he actually wants, and pray he chooses us, or the other clubs just don't bid for him. My scouts also found an Iranian goalkeeper who looks incredible for a very cheap cost, so again, let's bring him in. But we couldn't even get to the bit about how much wages he wants before he just rejected us. Manchester United came in for Rafael Luiz, £34 million up front with £77 million in total, but I'm rejecting that. And good news is Masarika has no other offers and accepted our contract to join Mallorca, and I am buzzing with this FA replacement, because the rest of my money has allowed me to start filling out the under-19 squad with potential talents that my scouts have found. Some might never be great players, but it's important that we bring them in to increase our future profits. Another wild bid came in for Medina from Udinese, an offer of over £24 million, but again, we don't have any replacements ready, so I'm not accepting a bid for the 20-year-old goalkeeper. First game of the season is here, and I feel like it's been Sevilla the first game for the last few seasons. But anyway, here we go. As mentioned, I want to try Jensen on the left. Behrens comes into the number 10 role, and Masarika starts in the backline too. And to say it started perfectly would be an understatement, as Jensen sets up Behrens within 20 minutes. Nelson Viper made it 2 with the best penalty you'll probably ever see, and it was 3-0 when Takata shot a fluky first-time effort into the corner. 6 days later, we played Barcelona at the Nou Camp, lost 3-1. But again, Bilbao in the following match, and it was once again 3-0 win, and Bayruns was back on the score sheet. Against Tenerife, I rotated the team a lot more, and one of the fringe players that really made a statement was the defensive midfielder Stan Bazzi, who scored 2 goals in a 4-1 win away from home. Speaking of statements though, when I put my first team back in a few days later, they got a 7-1 win. Transfer window closed, and some deals will just be completed in the future, like this Chilean striker from Colo-Colo who joins us in December when he turns 18. Just like this left back from Zimbabwe who joins next year. We loaned out a few players for the first team football and signed a few more players to fill out our youth teams with a couple of bargains here and there. We continued our good start in the league, defeating Girona 3-1. And that's when our adventure in the Champions League began, and a trip to Rome to face Lazio. They very early put themselves 1-0 up, but we got one back through Junior Krupi. However, in the second half, they held possession very well, and Cataldi scored a beauty to win the game 2-1 for the Italian. We were straight back to winning ways though, as we faced Rayo Vallecano, defeating them 5-0, with Bayruns getting man of the match. Ending the month with another 2 wins in both the league and the Champions League, which now puts us joint top with Barcelona and Real Madrid. And that's exactly when we decided to enter a bad run of form, starting with a loss to Real Sociedad, and then losing at home to Bayern Munich in the Champions League. We didn't even win a game in October until the 28th of the month, when we travelled to Villarreal and beat them 2-0 after another Bayern's man of the match. Drawing 2 games we should be winning before our trip to Leipzig, which was a complete 180 on our performances. We controlled possession, defensively holding them to 0 shots on target while getting 6 ourselves and scoring 3 of them. Krupi got man of the match for his 2 goals, but again, Yannick Bayruns was outstanding. Masarika scoring the only goal of the game next against Real Betis, but I was more worried about the injury to Yannick Bayruns. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad and he played in the next match. A match we were dreadful in, losing 3-0 at home to Celtic. And our inconsistent form has seen us drop 7 points behind Real Madrid, still in 3rd place. Back to winning ways against Celta Vigo though, when Rafael Luis scored a goal from long range, and with just 6 minutes on the clock, Junior Krupi was making it 2-0. Celta Vigo did have some fight in the match though and pulled themselves back to 2-1, but that's when last season's top scorer Nelson Viper stepped up and scored 2 goals either side of half-time to secure the win, and 3 points for Mallorca. But then we dropped 2 points as Las Palmas scored in the 95th minute to prevent us from winning the game. In the Champions League, we played Copenhagen just before a match against Real Madrid, and just like last season, our Danish players really stole the headline, scoring against the former club's rivals, with both Parup and Jensen scoring to make it 2-0. Copenhagen fired back, scoring 2 goals of their own, all within the first 20 minutes of the match. But the winner was scored once again by Frank Jensen, who scored his 2nd goal on the 26th minute. So Real Madrid came to Mallorca, and we weren't letting them have an easy day, scoring the only goal of the game in a 1-0 win. We beat Levante just before the new year, and that continued our unbeaten run in the league since Real Sociedad all the way back at the start of October. Still sat in 3rd place in the league though, and still 6 points behind Real Madrid. However, we do have the league's 2 top scorers, and Nelson Viper and Junior Krupi, who's got 14. We started off in January signing 2 Romanian talents for a combined total of just £7.8 million. And then we lost the first league game of the year, typically at home to Barcelona 3-1. But we did have some serious injuries to a lot of our first team players, and went from losing no matches in the league for months to 2 on the bounce. We did, however, put in an incredible performance in the Champions League though, when we went to the Etihad and beat them 2-1, with both goals being scored by man of the match, Yannick Bayruns, securing our place in the playoff round with a final win in the league phase against Napoli. It was still a rough month though, with a draw to Bilbao, meaning we went through January without a league win because of those earlier injuries. But we have got to the quarter-final of the Copa del Rey and drew against Inter Milan in the Champions League. And we breezed through to the semi-final of the Cup with a 1-0 win. In the Champions League though, we travelled away to Inter Milan first, and unfortunately we fell behind quite early in the game. Just after the half-time break though, we conceded another, with Inter Milan scoring through David Fratese. We still fought back and got ourselves a bit of a chance going into the second leg when Nelson Viper scored a consolation goal. But we couldn't do anything in the home leg. That finished 0-0 and we are out of the Champions League. Our league form did improve however, and new players such as Neil Sal came into the lineup, taking a chance and scoring some goals. Although we drew a game to Girona, we won a couple of more, and we have Real Madrid to face next month in the Copa del Rey semi-final to look forward to, and yet we're still only 3 points off the third place, despite our bad run of form. The Copa del Rey was an extremely tight match, but we snatched the lead on the stroke of half-time. However, with a bad bit of defending and players like Vinicius Jr. and Endrick on the field, Real Madrid equalised. But in the 82nd minute, an unlikely hero gave us a first leg advantage, and Kawasaki scored the winner. And we well and truly carried this form forward in La Liga too, winning every single game, including against third place Sociedad, and reclaiming that position in the league table. But it's second leg time and a chance to reach our first cup final since becoming Mallorca manager. And even though we were already 1 goal ahead, we got the only goal of the game, scored by Frank Jensen in the 39th minute. We take ourselves into the cup final, where of course we will be facing the other powerhouse in the league, Barcelona, just 2 games time. Form never stopped though, and we continued to win the game in between the 2 cup games, 3-1 against Real Betis, fielding a very good team to face the Catalan Giants. The final stayed 0-0 until the 30th minute, when Amar Dedic found some space down the right hand side, had the ball played back to him, and nobody closed him down and somehow squeezed the ball past Medina. We stayed in the game though, and Nelson Viper put home a penalty in the 60th minute before a throw was worked through the middle of the pitch, sprayed out to the left hand side where Prestiani had some space and smashed it in to make it 2-1. I'm glad I didn't sell him now. We held on, and Mallorca are the Copa del Rey champions, the first time in 26 years since their 2003 victory. But I'm hoping as we raise the trophy aloft, this won't be the last time we hold this trophy, and this is just the beginning of the legacy at this club. Not too much time to celebrate though, because 5 days later we host Atletico Madrid. And despite their recent decline as of late, it's still a tricky fixture, which we won 3-2. A 2-2 against Valencia followed, but I'm not too mad. We've won the home games against Tenerife and Celta Vigo, and our unbeaten run goes all the way back to February against Inter Milan, and even to the start of the year to Sevilla if you go just by La Liga. And that cements our position as the 3rd best team in the league. There was only one last game that could have ended our unbeaten run before the end of the season, away to the newly crowned champions Real Madrid. So you might say we have caught them at the perfect time, and we completely dominated the game, putting ourselves 3-0 up by the 69th minute when Prestiani scored, and they were left with just a consolation goal in injury time. We did draw to Las Palmas thanks to another late goal from them, but Levante 5-1 on the final day sees us comfortably into 3rd place, only 5 points behind Barcelona in 2nd. Can we close the gap next season? Well, I guess if we keep this man across the summer, then maybe we stand a very good chance. Honestly, what a player. He's absolutely transformed us this season. I think has took us to that next level that we could potentially start fighting for titles. Yannick Behrens, I know is £40 million is a lot of money in a youth to gold. Usually you're trying to pick up these players for less than 10 million. But I've been tracking this guy for ages, and I think he is definitely worth it. Thankfully, he chose to come to us, and I mean, look at his attributes. Absolutely phenomenal. He's 20 years of age. Hopefully we can keep him for the long run, and he can take us all the way to the Champions League. Let's have a look at the rest of the development dive though. If we started by ability, Frank Jensen apparently is the 2nd best player in our side now. And again, I'm not going to argue against that. I'm trying to train him to the likes to beat the offside trap. I think from that left-hand side, that could be really good. He lacks the initial acceleration, but everything else he definitely has. And we can see it. Everything is starting to rise up. Is picking up a few different injuries. I noticed that across the season, like this is just 2028-29 there. Picked up quite a few different ones in there. I'm hoping it doesn't continue anyway. You don't seem to be missing too many games. Power Up, the other Danish player, absolutely exceptional. Our best centre-back now has come into the side. I don't know why we keep playing Copenhagen and both of these guys keep scoring, but both of them obviously play for Copenhagen's rivals, so it's interesting that just keeps happening. Junior Creepy, once again, fantastic season. I think he played quite a lot of the games up front as well this season. A lot of the time it was shadow striker, but there was a period of time when Nelson Viper wasn't necessarily scoring, and he came into the lineup and got 26 goals and 10 assists. That's phenomenal stuff. Rafael Luiz, I don't know whether it's time to maybe look to see how much we can get for Rafael Luiz. £97 million is what he's worth. If clubs start coming in for that, that's the perfect time for youth to go. 24, 25, when they're at their peak price, we can look to sell him because he's not going to get any better now, and we can start using the likes of Stan Bazzi, who's come into the lineup every now and then, 11 starts, 16 appearances off the bench, and I have been impressed by him. I'm not going to lie, the 20-year-old Argentinian would be even better if he got more game time, because he's 20 and he's got perfectionist personality. He just needs that game time. Could he be better than Rafael Luis with that game time? Not quite sure. Outside of that, Nelson Viper, yes, it could be time once we find a striker. Every single season I've been saying that. I just can't find anybody that's as good. Masarika that we brought in at centre-back, he's come into the lineup. He looks phenomenal. Like, really good development now on the 19-year-old. The left-back, Cesar Torres, is he unhappy because he wants a new contract? Probably. Wants a new contract. I'm not surprised. He's only on 13k a week. But look how good his mentals and his physical attributes are. Phenomenal stuff. Really good. And you notice quite a lot of the highlights, we played down that left-hand side. He's involved a lot of the time. So, absolutely buzzing with him. Morgala is solid. Like, both times, I don't want to sell him because I'm using him every other game in two different positions. He is wanted by Udinese. For some reason, just have a lot of money. But I have no intentions of selling him, I don't think. So, yeah. I skipped over Prestiani. I was looking to sell him at the end of the season. I don't know whether I've changed my mind yet. I don't have anybody. Neil Sal's okay. I don't have anybody who can fill that Prestiani role, who can just come in and just play amazing despite not looking as good as what possibly he should. Lucien Toma, I think he's doing okay. Like, he's played quite a lot. Fairly professional personality. Good La Liga player. 20. We've got a good bunch of Romanians now because, again, I always scout Romania. They are very cheap players. He's had a better season this year than what he did last season. And his development, certainly, in the mental attributes is exactly where I want to see. And he has very good pace and agility, which for centre midfielders, I actually think is quite an underrated couple of attributes there. Because Takata doesn't have that. And I notice that a lot when I'm watching the game highlights, that Takata potentially sometimes loses the ball, whereas Lucien Toma is in the key, in the middle of the park, gets the ball and spreads it out wide. But Takata's better on the ball in regards to passing and vision. There's a catch-22. I need amalgamation of both of them, really. Kawasaki, very solid down that right-hand side when he plays. I mean, he still plays 39 starts, to be fair. And Medina, he's getting better and better. I'm not saying he's going to be the best goalie in the world. I don't think he will be, but we still yet to find anybody, any goalies who's going to come in and be the goalie to take his position right now. And I don't see anybody coming in to do with that. So Okachukwu unfortunately didn't play as much this season, and maybe that suffered, but he's still looking quite good. Dimitri, who came in, has played very well. I'm being quite fond of him, but the rest of the players haven't really played that much this season, and I could look to offload. In the development centre, though, we've got a couple of players. Nicolas Jimenez, joined us halfway through the season. His development already is looking quite good, and if you take a look at how he's been playing, 6 appearances in the under-29s, or 6 starts and 6 goals. Yeah, he could be maybe somebody we look to in the future. There's a couple of really good players down here that I don't think ever are going to see the light of first-team football, and that does worry me slightly. But that is youth to gold. Like, you bring these players in and you just unfortunately offload them. Sometimes making a loss, sometimes making a huge profit. I mean, like this guy here, Delgado, he's worth £49 million. If somebody wants to bring him in now and offers me $50 million, I could be tempted. However, he's only 18, good, like, great potential. He's not playing, I mean, 34 under-19 appearances, 17 goals and 12 assists from centre mid. If we do sell Rafael Luis, that's a big if. This is the guy that I think will step up and take that position. I think a season in the first team will do him wonders, and he could become one of the world's best midfielders. We'll have to wait and find out, I guess. Victor Ross hasn't been quite as convincing. I tried to loan him out. 12 goals in 34 appearances and 11 off the bench. 11 assists, for the under-19s. I was tempted to bring him into the first team this season, but I could not find any clubs to loan him, and I don't know why that is. It worries me when that happens. Don't know whether it's like a fault in the game or something like that. They're saying that Drajan's ready for the first team. They're not wrong, to be honest. As a centre attacking midfielder, we're just overloaded in that position right now. But yeah, we've got so many players who have been out on loan as well. So, like Benz Ferenczi, and I mean, there's loads of them. If you go by average rating, none of them have actually put in very good performances. That's slightly worrying, isn't it? But still, I think it's been good. And I've managed to get Sakamoto out, and he's made 41 appearances, so he's finally actually getting first-team football, and looks like it's been helping. That's really good. Maybe a couple of more loan deals for him. He could be a better goalkeeper than the one that we got. Ferenczi,
is the Hungarian 19-year-old 6'6" centre-back. I think another season out on loan, maybe in La Liga, would really help him. And then I could look to bed him into the first team lineup. But right now, I don't think he's quite ready. The rest of the players, though, I mean, there's some that I might look to offload. Miguel Pons, I've given him so many chances. Once again, he's gone out on loan and hasn't scored a single bloody goal. So, I don't know. But I guess we'll have to see what I do across the summer. I'm starting this summer picking up more potential wonder kids from Japan for a really cheap cost. As important as it may be to keep buying players from the nation you're in, I'm enjoying signing players from all over the globe. And once again, the board are prepared to improve the training facilities, which will help players like Rene Pedersen, who is another player that we've snapped up, and another Danish player. Plays as a striker right now, but lacks the pace. Still, for £3.5 million, I'm not complaining. I think I've decided on my Nelson Viper replacement. From Inter Milan, Matteo Turin, and for only £19.75 million as well. He's happy to be a squad player this season, but I'm genuinely tempted to find out if any clubs want to come in for Viper, seeing as Turin is happy to sign for such a cheap wage. Look out defenders, because a couple of players including Jensen has just learnt to beat the offside trap for a player trait as well. The good thing about signing all of these players so young is that in a couple of seasons they are qualified as homegrown talents, which is perfect for registration purposes. Rumours are starting to come in about Nelson Viper, so I'm going to put out the feelers and see if somebody bites, with 4 clubs that are interested. Also picking up this Spanish winger from Villarreal. He's not amazing, but he's literally cost me less than £1 million. And that's honestly all of our budget spent now, and there's a bid from Sociedad from Medina, but there's no way I'm selling him. First game of the season is here already, and Turin has an injury, so Viper keeps his starting position for now, and there's no new faces in the starting 11. And for once, we were not playing Sevilla in the first game, and instead an away trip to Bilbao, which can be tricky. Not today, mind. We played like we were a league or two above the Basque side, scoring 5 goals in total and having 15 shots on target with nearly 60% possession. An unbelievable way to start the season, with both Krupi and Viper scoring a brace, and Bayern's getting off the mark too. Man of the match though went to the left back Cesar Torres for his 3 assists and his 10 out of 10 rating. What a player. Hilariously, to the schedule makers of La Liga, we played Sevilla in the second game of the season. And David Medina picks up a torn muscle and is out for 3 months. Brilliant. Nothing that our backup goalie can do, and your defense lets just players run through right after you scored. And we drew the game 2-2. And then our backup goalkeeper got injured as well, which means our only goalkeeper not injured right now is Kenji Sakamoto. However, he still counts as a non-EU player, so to register him we have to remove another, as we already have 3 out of 3, and that means Takata will be moved for a short period of time. Viper keeps complaining about the lack of squad depth for goalkeepers, and that's annoyed me, so I just dropped him. But that didn't affect our performance, and Turin even scored during this emphatic win. It is annoying though, 2 big injuries, so I'm playing a third choice goalkeeper, and that's hardly showing a lack of squad depth in that position. But anyway, we won 6-2 away to Levante. More injuries followed though, with Krupi this time out for months. And then Prestiani, who was injured during a fall at training. What? As the transfer window closed, we faced Osasuna, and I fully rotated the team because of the injuries. Miguel Pons had a fantastic time, scoring 2 goals and a 4-0 home win. And it's Real Madrid up next. But still, with a backup goalkeeper and 2 of our key players in Krupi and Prestiani missing from injury, the task of beating Real Madrid was way too difficult, and we fell 2 goals behind quite early on. Miguel Pons did make it 2-1 and gave us hope, but Bellingham restored Madrid's 2-goal advantage and then made it 4-1 from the penalty spot. We had a penalty of our own though, scored by Turin for 4-2. But that set a precedent on how bad this month is going to be, with 2 poor draws and a loss to Barcelona, with the win over Juventus being the only good result, seeing our good start to the season end. Thankfully, our form improved immediately, and we started October with 2 emphatic 3-0 victories, with the first being at home to Getafe, and the second was an even better away win to Real Betis, with the goals being spread out, as well as a lot coming down that right hand side, where Kawasaki got man of the match, picking up a lot of key passes and 1 assist. Carrying that momentum into the Champions League against Liverpool, as we defeated them 1-0 at home, with the goals being scored by Prestiani. And with Junior Krupi coming back into the lineup when we took on Atletico Madrid, we shocked them, as well as completely dominating the game, scoring 2 goals from Nelson Viper and winning 2-0.
Just a month that we needed after our bad start and getting us back on track. I took a chance against Girona at the start of November by fielding a couple of our squad players who needed some first team football, and they came in clutch with Turin scoring the first goal and the second being placed by Nelson Viper on a plate for the ongoing path for Stambuzi. It was great to have Junior Krupi back, and he was well on form and deadly against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League, scoring both of our goals in a 2-0 away win from home. And then 2-0 became our favourite result, and it was so satisfying to see in the clean sheets. With this 3-0 Champions League victory ending a run of 5 games winning 2-0 in a row. Not that I was complaining, we were playing outstanding right now. But we are still suffering because of that earlier month of bad form. That run was also incredible because it was without Yannick Behrens, who broke his ankle and has been out for the last 3 months and is soon to return. I took a chance and risked playing him earlier on because of suspensions elsewhere, and it paid off with him scoring on his first game back. Tight game though against Valencia, finishing 3-2. And we finally dropped points for the first time in months, losing 3-2 to Valladolid. Lucky that seemed to just be a minor hiccup on our season, and we got back to winning ways almost immediately with this 3-0 victory, with 2 goals being scored by Prestiani and Yannick Behrens. Behrens cannot stop scoring, and he scored in the next game against Young Boys in the Champions League too. Nelson Viper scored 4 goals in the final game of the year against Celta Vigo, a fantastic victory, and finally we can see our league form puts us back into 3rd position, and in the Champions League we're actually top of the league phase right now. But it's January and a couple of transfer bids have come in already, and Liverpool tried to sign Frank Jensen for an embarrassing amount, and the Nelson Viper deal did have me curious, but I wanted a lot more money up front, so I rejected both. I also think selling a player in January on this great run of form could be costly for our season, because every player is chipping in with goals and top performances. And hiccups like this draw to Sevilla from a 94th minute goal are becoming far less frequent now. And we finally lost the game in the Champions League 2 to Bayern Munich, before stomping Salzburg in the final league phase game 5-1, which is our best performance in the competition yet. Just 1 loss and 1 draw in our 8 games sees us finishing 2nd place, just behind Inter Milan. Our last game in the month of January in La Liga was against Athletic Bilbao, and the previous time we played against them we beat them, and this time was no different. Nelson Viper scored the first 2 goals, and our Danish centre-back Parup scored the 3rd in a 3-0 win, which does see us close the gap to 2nd place Real Madrid just to a point. We are still some way off, 9 points behind Barcelona, who are still yet to lose a game. Our success so far is probably down to Nelson Viper. He scored so many goals so far this season, 18 in the last 19 league appearances. Bringing in Turin could have actually been a stroke of genius, because although he hasn't replaced Viper, it's made him really step up his game even more. However, Turin did disappoint in the Copa del Rey 4th round, missing a penalty in the penalty shootout, leading to us being knocked out by Deportivo La Coruña, who are in the league below us. As great as it would have been to retain the cup, our focus was firmly on the league and Real Madrid, who we faced in the next match, and they took the lead through Vinicius Jr. on the 74th minute. However, we fought back almost immediately through great teamwork, and again we did control quite well. Yannick Behrens scored an equaliser on the 83rd minute, and there was still time for a little piece of magic. That came from Yannick Behrens once again with that through ball to Krupi, which won the game 2-1 in the 93rd minute. The defeat in the cup was the only game in February we didn't actually win, and that now sees us overtake Real Madrid in the league and go above them by 4 points into 2nd place, just 3 points behind Barcelona, although they do have a game in hand. In the Champions League though, we've been drawn against Real Sociedad in the round of 16. And in the first leg, we just simply couldn't break them down, and the game finished 0-0, and the man of the match was their goalkeeper, Ramiro. They really come at us in the 2nd leg though, and they finally opened the scoring with a really scrappy goal from a corner. We scored a very well worked corner of ourselves though. In fact, Nelson Viper taking the game into extra time, where unfortunately Real Sociedad won another penalty and knocked us out the Champions League. That result really did affect us though, and Atletico Madrid took advantage of us, beating us 2-0 in the following fixture. The other 3 games this month, we ended up scoring 4 goals and ended the month with a 5-1 victory, which still sees us sat in 2nd place, but Real Madrid have a game in hand on us, which will put them a point behind. With Barcelona being a fixture that we had in January, I wasn't anticipating Real Sociedad being the fixture we really struggled in, and we lost 4-3. We looked like the team that was unbeaten all season though when Barcelona came to town. They were terrible, and we defeated them 2-0 with 2 goals from Nelson Viper and Frank Jensen. But a draw in Valencia is not good news. With wins either side of that draw, it still unfortunately does see us drop down into 3rd place, with Real Madrid overtaking us and Barcelona losing 3 games during that 1 month after both Real Madrid and us defeated them in April. However, fixtures are a lot more favourable than what Real Madrid's are, with 4 very winnable games. Whereas they have the Madrid derby as well as the Real Sociedad team that has defeated us 3 times in the last year. But while we were winning 3-0 against Real Vallecano, Real Madrid were also putting on a great performance with 2 goals from their right winger, Giovanni. I didn't really know much about this Brazilian, but he seems like a very good, talented, right-sided winger, and I've only just moved to Real Madrid for £23 million and has scored 7 goals and got 11 assists in his first campaign in Spain. All we can do, though, is just keep winning our games, and that's exactly what we did against Celta Vigo, defeating them 2-0, and hope that Real Madrid dropped some points in the Madrid derby. But annoyingly, they won 3-1. Barcelona also continue to win, and they are just 1 victory away from winning the league title back from Real Madrid, which they managed to do, defeating Atletico Madrid, who seem to be in the back of a lot of losses lately. But anyway, they did it, 2-0 win, and they're title winners. Meanwhile, we have fallen 1-0 behind away to Granada in just the 3rd minute, which obviously isn't great for our 2nd place push, but thankfully Prestiani pulled one back on the half-hour mark before Yannick Bayern scored in the 69th minute to make it 2-1, and we held on for our win. Unfortunately for Real Madrid, though, they had the opposite thing happen to them and went 1-0 up, only to lose 2-1 at home to Real Sociedad, helping us reclaim 2nd place by 2 points with just 1 game to go. All we had to do was defeat Espanyol, who had nothing to play for down in 15th place, but we found ourselves 1-0 down after just 6 minutes, and panic stations started to come in because then they were 2-0 up with just 12 minutes gone on the clock from the penalty. Nelson Viper did pull one back 5 minutes later, but in the second half, that's when we really started to cook, and he scored a penalty in the 70th minute to equalise, and then the hat-trick hero got himself his 3rd in the 77th minute, securing 2nd place for Mallorca. And we finally split the 2 dominant forces in Spain, with Nelson Viper scoring 34 goals and claiming the Golden Boot. And I'm actually quite proud of the fact that we managed to get 91 points this season. But the next step is to win the league. Quite a worrying thing happened in that Espanyol game, though, is that Yannick Behrens broke his ankle again. Now, thankfully, of course, that's the last game of the season, but is that going to be an ongoing problem? Because he is a world-class player, and if he has a recurrent injury, that's going to be so disappointing. Look how good he is, though. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. He keeps developing despite obviously missing so many games this season because of different injuries. 3 major injuries, broken foot and 2 broken ankles. What? He missed 3 months, and then another 3 months coming. He's going to miss 9 months in the space of a year. That's absolutely devastating for such a quality player. Anyway, back onto the development dive. We got Frank Jensen, also now a 5-star player. Another world-class centre attacking midfielder or left winger that we've got in. Hasn't had the best of seasons, just 12 goals, 9 assists. A very good average rating though, so still putting in the fantastic performances is our number 10. From Denmark. I think I was being a little bit too harsh. I just expect so much. Kind of out of nowhere though, Kanika Masarika is unbelievable. Absolutely incredible. 20 years of age. What a centre-back that we've picked up here from the FC Nordsjælland Youth Academy for just £4.6 million. This season, he's developed into a monster. 6'3", got great pace, unbelievable stuff. Really like how he is progressing. He's asking for new contracts as well. I'm going to have to go through and give a lot of these players new contracts. Cesar Torres, we highlighted during the episode. Unbelievable. He's developed even more since we looked at that. His mental attributes are fantastic. A lot of 18s and 19s in there, so really underrated if you just look at it at a glance. Junior Krupi just seemed to come in clutch so much this season. Another world-class by description, but I don't think he's quite as good attribute-wise as some of the other players that we've seen so far. But performance on the pitch, you cannot deny, has been exceptional for us. 17 goals and 11 assists this season. Saved us when we had a lot of bad form. He came in quite clutch quite a few times. Nelson Viper, I'm so unsure with. Like, he's scoring so many goals, but he just doesn't look like he's as good as what he actually is on the pitch. 34 league goals this season, 10 more than last season when I said I wanted to sell him. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. Prestiani's still around. He is now wanted. I could look at selling Prestiani, although he looks like he's actually got better again. Like, the development seems to halt last season and the season before, but he seems to have got better. On the pitch, he hasn't. Maybe it is time to cash in on Prestiani. I mean, he's worth like £70 million because we kind of do need the money. We haven't got a lot of money to spend. Our actual transfer budget, by the way, is only £24 million. We're losing a few players, which will help, that I just decided we'll never get any money for. Leandro Morgala, again, phenomenal stuff. He's done absolutely incredible. The player I want to highlight the most, because if you go on here, the 15 assists, only behind Jeremy Pino. He probably played a lot more games. He also got the most yellow cards. Is Lucien Toma. He's played so many games off the bench. Well, actually, no, it's only 3 appearances off the bench. 31 appearances only starting. 15 assists for a centre midfielder, because Yannick Behrens, he played a lot more because of Yannick Behrens' injury, because sometimes Yannick Behrens drops into that centre midfield spot, so I can give other people game time, and Lucien Toma sometimes misses out. I mean, it's helped him. It's definitely helped him. Our Danish centre-back pour-up, we got a really good centre-back partnership now, and I don't want to change that at all. They're quite young still. I think they're both 20 and 21, so 2 of the world's best centre-backs, and they're both playing for me, and they're both 21 or under. Satoshi Kawasaki as well has had some really good games this season, and he's actually developed really well. You can see a lot of green attributes going up there, which is fantastic. And then you've also got the likes of Matteo Torrin, who came into the side and pushed Viper to all those goals, and yet he looks better than Viper. This is what I mean. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next season. Takata, I think we might have to cash in on early, because he is so disappointed all the time with the lack of game time he's getting. He's also torn his knee ligaments and he's been out for a couple of weeks. He will be out for another 3 months, so I won't be able to sell him immediately, but only 6 starts and 15 appearances off the bench. He got 3 assists and he kept on coming to me and being annoyed, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Delgado played a few games there, but I'm pretty sure I put him up for I did put him up for non-competitive, I think, but he hasn't played any games in the youth academy there. Ferenczi has played quite a few games more than what I thought he would, coming off the bench quite often, but starting 8 games as well, 21 appearances there, so still lacking a bit of development. I would hope by 20 years of age he'd have been a bit better than that, but I can't even loan him out. Like, nobody wants to come in for loan. David Medina, the goalkeeper that just keeps on giving back. Obviously, that big injury at the start, we suffered, definitely. There is a couple of clubs who are always interested, Udinese being one of them, but I'm never going to sell him, and if they come in for 70, then maybe, but I'm never going to sell him for the price of what they were trying to get him last season. Stan Bazzi, I feel like he's going to need Rafael Luiz to leave if we're going to play Stan Bazzi and see him what he can do to his full potential. He's also wanted as well. We could cash in £27 million, but right now, like, Rafael Luiz, nobody wants him, and he's only 25, but he's so good. So it's going to be a time where I'm going to have to sell Rafael Luiz, and I need somebody who is going to be just as good, if not better. And Stan Bazzi, I'm unsure whether he can give me that. When he plays, he's still good. 6.97 average rating, but he played less than what he did last season, and last season was his first season in the league. I don't really know. Dimitru actually played quite a few games, which I'm surprised with, Romanian. I put him up for the under-21s or under-19s, and then I realised I need to actually use him quite a lot for rotational purposes, and he did quite well, to be fair. But outside of that, in the development centre, we've got some players who are developing quite nicely that we can see here. A lot of green arrows on Victor Arce. We got Bruno Vukic, who's actually done really well. The Bosnian centre-back, and developed into an insane player that I might actually have to use next year, because he's only 18. Looks really good. Drajan, I'm trying to loan him out, but last season nobody wanted him. I think people are going to want him this year, because look how good he actually looks. Same as Nicolas Jimenez, development-wise, growing quite nicely in the youth academy there, so all's going quite well in the youth academy. There's another guy there, Ndai, who I've picked up, who has really good dribbling, finishing, and first touch ability from Senegal, only 150k. I mean, these prices that I'm picking up these players for are absolutely incredible. The one that I'm like, right, I think this could be the guy that will take over everybody is Rene Pedersen, if we can get his pace up, and his pace has increased, because when he signed he was only 17 and he had some unbelievable mental attributes, but I think it was a professional or fairly professional personality, but it's gone to a driven one now because his determination being so high. If we can get his pace up to like a 15, I think he could be a monster. I really do, because my scouts rate him so highly. He's both-footed. I want him to learn, because his technique was high as well. That's the one thing I looked. I thought, great finishing, great technique. This guy looks like an absolute monster. So we'll see how that goes anyway. But there's a lot of players in my youth academy right now
that I'm like, right, it's either time for them to step up or time for them to go. I don't really know what's going to happen, but now that we're second in the league, I don't really want to lose that momentum. I want to at least stay in the top 3, and we got to make a push for that title because, hey, we're only 4 points behind Barcelona this season. We didn't win a cup and we were out very early in the Champions League, unfortunately. That league title could be ours within the next couple of years. We really need to make a push for it. Unfortunately, Spurs are stealing 2 players who wouldn't renew their contracts with us. But we do have £24 million to replace them going into season number 8. And I've been working on my backroom staff and now have 19 different scouts to find amazing players for me. And I have so many ongoing recruitment focuses, sending them all around the world. Bruno Vukic is a man I'm definitely bumping into the first team, but I will be looking to loan out for first team football. Rumours are circulating around Prestiani, who I may look to offload. However, his agent confirms no formal bids will be coming in just yet. Same for Nelson Viper, who is not considered to be a priority target right now. I'm still unsure what to do with Okachukwu. He's been on loan at Nottingham Forest and he's not done very well. Because I have more future strikers like Cordero here from Costa Rica, who's joining soon, who is just turning 18 in August for less than £2 million. Nelson is out of contract next year though, and I'm really stuck in 2 minds now. I just had to offer him a new contract as nobody wanted to buy him and I didn't really want to lose him. Annoyingly, my number 1 target is also a striker, and what a beast too. And Spanish and almost 20 years old, so I've got to get him fast. Eventually, getting a deal done for him for £19 million up front with some add-ons. He joins my only other signing right now, who is a Czech goalkeeper who I picked up for $5 million. With these new striker signings, I'm thinking of going with more strikers up front and giving them more of a chance because I simply have way too many attacking options. We have a lot of injuries when it came to the first game of the season, but still a good enough team to try out this new tactic. Still, it didn't seem like we were put under any immediate pressure and scored via an own goal within 15 minutes. It wasn't until late in the second half to seal the win with another 2 goals from the second from Frank Jensen and the last being put away beautifully by Junior Krupi. I am purposely trying to start players like Turin more this season and he repaid me back straight away with 2 goals and a 6-1 win over Espanyol. Poacher's finish type of goals as well, just what I wanted. It took it to the 3rd game, but Gonzalez finally managed to get himself off the mark for the season with 2 goals in 2 minutes against Granada in a 4-0 win. Even though at half-time it was 0-0. We haven't played anyone super challenging yet, but what a start to the league campaign. A bid came in for Stambazi, and although looking at him he hasn't developed to how I would hope, we would still be making a profit, and I'm going to reject it simply because I think with a season a bit more game time, we can easily get more for him. Transfer window now closed and we keep up our good run with a 5-0 win. We did fall behind early in the next match, however, against Almeria, but just 2 minutes later and Gonzalez is leveling things up. Even before half-time, Turin is putting us ahead. Eventually, we won 5-2, but this is where our run stops. Because in the Champions League, we were appalling, and Roma has the easiest game they could ever ask for. Even to the point where Masarica passed Porto Nketiah with an open goal to make it 2-0. Frustratingly, Barcelona followed that match and they scored 2 late goals to pinch all 3 points. Masarica put us on our way back to winning games against PAOK in the Champions League, but we're still not exactly convincing after this. Because we then drew 1-1 to Valencia in the league, still only 3 points behind Real Madrid in first place though. And that's thanks to the hard work of someone who's really impressed me lately in Lucien Toma. We started the next month a lot better, beating Real Sociedad with 2 goals from Behrens and Viper. Toma's development recently has been insane from when he first joined, and the Romanian has become a staple in this team so far this season. He scored a well-deserved goal in a win against Atletico Madrid, which was a beautiful team goal to watch. In the Champions League, we headed to Celtic Park where a goalkeeper mistake led to Peter Musa scoring the opening goal within the 3rd minute. Thankfully, it didn't take long before Gonzalez equaled the scoring thanks to Viper's assist, but a deflected free kick from Celtic put them back into the lead just before half-time. Viper took it upon himself just after half-time to score another equaliser to make the game 2-2, and within just 5 minutes left on the clock, a ball was hopefully played in by Masarica and headed into the net by Gonzalez for a 3-2 win. And we ended the month with another win in the league and a first goal for Vukic. But 4 wins from 4, a fantastic win for us, and we claim 2nd place for now, just 3 points behind Madrid still. Good start to November, but it's Manchester City in the Champions League next. Possibly the contender for the game of the season as a deflected Erling Haaland shot opened up the scoring for Manchester City. But a smart piece of play from Mallorca and a wonderful cutback for Frank Jensen makes it 1-1. On the half-hour mark though, the visitors Manchester City broke down our defence, and Foden makes it 2-1. And yet still before half time we created another chance and Gonzalez stuck the ball in the back of the net and it's 2-2 at half time. The second half wasn't as eventful one as the first, but there were still 3 more goals to be scored, with the first coming as an own goal on the 87th minute giving Mallorca the lead. But with some really good pressing we forced a mistake out of Manchester City and Gonzalez scored his second of the game to make it 4-2. There was still enough time though for Man City to create one more opportunity and Phil Foden got his second goal, but we took all 3 points in the Champions League. And that win made us believe that we could beat anybody and we comfortably took 6 points from Villarreal and Sevilla in the league. Continuing our good run of form, battering Salzburg in the Champions League. And a win against Girona takes us to 10 wins on the bounce and yet still 3 points behind Real Madrid in both the league and the Champions League. That's who we play next. And there is a reason why they are both top of Spain and in the Champions League. They have a far superior team and held 2/3 of the possession in the game, taking the lead in the 7th minute. We still have a bit about us though, and just on the stroke of half time, Luis manages to pick up a surprise equaliser. But in the second half, there wasn't much that we could do to the defence of Real Madrid, and eventually they broke us down and Kolo Muani scored the winner. Just a small blip though, because we were back on the winning run right after an away match in the league with 2 very questionable lucky goals. A lot of rebound shots coming off the bar, shots being saved by the keeper, but some fantastic finishes to eventually find the net. And our record speaks for itself. The only loss since September, and right now Real Madrid are unbeaten and destroying every and all teams in their way. January though, and bids are coming in for Prestiani, who hasn't played much at all since we lost that winger spot in our tactic, and after negotiating for £20 million up front is accepted by Porto. The board have also given me a sizable transfer budget too to start making some more signings. And on my shortlist is Mehmet Kaya, who has only just signed a new contract in the summer, so wasn't interested in the move back then, but is definitely interested now. We get a deal done for the young Danish midfielder. Takata has made his decision to leave at the end of next season on a free transfer, so I'm going to go and try and cash in on him right now, but he's really suffered thanks to the development of Toma and watched from the bench for most of the season. Not what I was expecting to come through in January, but a huge offer landed on my desk for Nelson Viper from Manchester City. And I think it's time to sell and try and develop my own strikers. Because if we remove Viper, we've got a lot of options. Gonzalez has been fantastic. Krupi can also play there if needed. Turin just needs a little bit more game time, I think. And we still have Cordero and Rene Pedersen to start bedding in. Not to mention the B players on our side like Drejan, who has been banging in goals. So I dropped Viper for the first match of the year against Levante, and we still created a lot of chances and we were as clinical as usual. I think we'll be okay without him. Another injury for Behrens though, which is very worrying. And we say goodbye to Nelson Viper, who has served us well, and that contract in the summer was a good move. As well as Prestiani, 2 incredible players who have taken us so far in this youth to go journey. More injuries followed though and became a bit of a problem for us, however. And at the end of the month, Krupi also picked up a minor injury too. So I needed to start bringing in some recruits, and that's exactly what I did on deadline day. 2 players who can come right into the matchday squad without demanding starting positions. January on the pitch went really well, with the only loss being a Super Cup match and the only draw being away to Bayern Munich in the Champions League, which qualifies us in the top 8. In the league though, we continue to rotate our side because of the injuries, but still managed to pick up a lot of wins that maybe in seasons past we would have dropped points in. We were eliminated from the Copa del Rey, however, in the quarter-final after failing to score past Sevilla. But of course, with the amount of absences, it was a bad time to face Barcelona, even though we have been ahead for them for the majority of the season in the league, and they punished our mistakes to go 2 goals up. Behrens did pull one back to put up a bit of a fight against the Catalan Giants, but João Pedro's goal sealed our fate. And our response against Valencia was fantastic though, as was the rest of the month, with a 3-0 win and a 6-1 win, but it's Liverpool next in the Champions League round of 16. And the first leg was played at Anfield, and we surprisingly handled the occasion very well, considering we conceded from Ryan Gravenberch's goal just after 6 minutes, patiently waiting until early in the second half before Thomas scored, and we take a 1-1 draw to the home leg. And this might have been the performance of the season so far, as we completely dominated Liverpool, scoring 3 goals without giving them a sniff as we progress through to the quarterfinals against the French champions PSG. Before then though, we are still pushing Real Madrid to the very end in the league, holding on to our second place spot and beating their Madrid rivals Atletico 3-0 at home,
with 2 goals from Mateo Torrin, who's really stepped up since Viper's departure. 2 more wins followed, and we have Villarreal to face before PSG, and unfortunately Real Madrid continued their good run of form as well, holding us off from that top spot by 4 points and remaining unbeaten. But we don't lose hope, and we batter Villarreal 3-0. First leg in Paris, and PSG think that they caught us out and take the lead into half-time on the 46th minute from a corner. But we went right down the other end, crossed the ball in, and the Danish midfielder Frank Jensen finds the net. And we once again take a 1-1 draw in the away first leg of the Champions League to our home leg. Before the second leg though, we were rocked and lost 3-2 to Sevilla. However, Mbappe chopped down Kawasaki early in the second leg of the Champions League in their visit to Mallorca, and he's seen a straight red, and rightly so. And we took full advantage of the extra man despite giving PSG 60% possession across the match. Rafael Luis scored within the first 5 minutes of the red card, and in the second half, the overloads across the pitch were utilised down the left brilliantly, with Victor Arce finding space to score a second. Just like Liverpool before them, PSG came to Mallorca with a 1-1, and they left on a 4-1 loss on aggregate defeat as we sail into the semi-finals. A couple of wins and a couple of clean sheets against Real Madrid and Girona, and we now face the unbeaten leaders, Real Madrid. As a new hero emerged in a red shirt, the young Costa Rican striker Diego Cordero, who opened the scoring just after 2 minutes. And he continued to be in the right place at the right time and scored 2 more goals to claim the match ball and the man of the match after his bump into the first team, following the 15 goals he scored for the Mallorca B team this year, helping Real Madrid to their first loss of the league campaign at the Bernabeu. We played Manchester United in the first leg of the Champions League semi-final at home, which was a change for us this season, but one thing that didn't change was the result. For the third tie in a row, the home fixture in the Champions League knockout stage was won by Mallorca 3-0. We are on fire in this competition. Not only are we in the driving seat to make it to the Champions League final, but we have now also overtaken Real Madrid, who lost again last month and falling to second due to the results between teams being in our favour. However, tragic news struck as Junior Krupi damaged his cruciate ligaments against Manchester United and is expected to be out for up to 8 months. Absolutely devastating news for the lad who has been so amazing for us in the last few seasons. And the cracks beginning to show following this, with a loss at home without scoring a goal in La Liga and gifting Real Madrid to that top spot back. The threat of coming so close and throwing it all the way in the Champions League as well was squashed when Jensen scored within 3 minutes at Old Trafford. They did put up a fight though after scoring right after half-time through Garnacho, but a 94th minute winner sent us through to the Champions League final, where we will either face Napoli or Manchester City. Back to La Liga matches though, and what should have been a comfortable game for us at the top of the table against Osasuna turned into a nightmare for our title hopes, conceding the first goal. We pulled it back to 1-1, and as the time ticked down for the break, Gonzalez then smashed the ball home to make it 2-1. Just after the hour mark, it was a young Costa Rican Cordero who found the net to give us what we thought would be all 3 points. But that was until Amenda scored for Osasuna in the final minutes of the game. And that 2-2 draw cost us top spot as Real Madrid lost another match at home to Sevilla. A much more comfortable victory for us against Celta Vigo followed, once again going behind first in the match though. But with both Real Madrid and Barcelona winning, the title decider goes down to the final day with just 2 points between us as we travel away to Levante. And yet again, we were the fault of our own downfall as we conceded within 10 minutes of the match. We were missing key players such as Behrens, Frank Jensen and of course Krupi, but Torren was on a mission to make sure we stayed with hope, and he scored an equaliser. Real Madrid had the fairly easy task, however, of beating Huesca at home, who gifted their top scorer Muani the opening goal in the 35th minute. Back to the Levante match, and after a goalkeeping howler, Turin scored a second to give us the lead. But just before half-time, Levante scored a penalty, and we had nothing left. We couldn't break them down, and Kolo Muani scored a second late goal to seal the La Liga title for Real Madrid. Even with Barcelona ready to pounce, we wouldn't have won the title with a 6-1 win.
Anyway, I guess it's hope for the Champions League final. So with that disappointing end to La Liga season, hopefully we can win the Champions League against Manchester City. But before that, let's have a quick development dive into the team. And I mean quick, let's breeze over it. With, of course, the selling of Viper and Prestiani, we needed people to step up, and that's what this man has done, Gonzalez. 28 goals this season, probably not as many as what Viper would have got, but of course Viper was playing for half of the season as the main striker. This guy now, when he beats the offside trap, he learns how to do that. He's both-footed, very fast. Just need really his composure and finishing to come up, but he's only 20. Let's give him a bit of time. I'm gutted for Krupi. I really hope he recovers from that, because that's a big, big injury. Matteo Torrin, we need him to step up as well. That natural fitness is the one thing that really worries me, and I cannot grasp what he's good at, because yes, he's very good at finishing, but his composure and off the ball and his pace is not fantastic. So I don't know what type of striker to really bring him into, or whether we need to actually develop a different striker. Frank Jensen, of course, is one of our best players. He's absolutely phenomenal. He continues to be amazing. Same as Yannick Behrens. What a season he has had as well. Absolutely clinical for us, and that hopefully he's avoided the amount of injuries that he got last season, and he continues to do that. He was out for 2 months with a torn hamstring this year, but that's his only injury this year. That's not as bad as what it was the previous season, which of course was a really bad one, to be fair. Lucien Toma is the guy that I really want to highlight, though, because his development has been absolutely outstanding for us in the last couple of seasons alone. But since we actually got him, if you can look at that, a lot of 4s coming up there, a lot of 2s, and a lot of 3s. Everything about Lucien Toma's game has been fantastic, and that's the reason why Takata's actually wanting to leave, unfortunately, who's down here, because he's only played 14 starts, and he is going to be... He's refusing to sign any contracts, and that's absolutely fine. Morgala might be one that I actually look to sell at the end of the season. He's 26 now. It could be time to move him on. He's been phenomenal for us, but we do have players who are ready to step up, like Bruno Vukic, who have integrated into the first team, but he hasn't played as many games as what maybe he would have hoped, but 12 starts, 11 appearances off the bench. He's played a big part still, really. Masarika is phenomenal. What a pickup that is for a 21-year-old. £4.6 million. Absolutely insane. Power up, I'm concerned with, because he's not developing as much as what I thought he would, considering how quick he got, how quick he developed when we first brought him and Frank Jensen into the team. That's what I'm really concerned with. Same as Rene Pedersen, the Danish 19-year-old now. I don't know whether we're going to be using this guy going forward. I might give him a loan period of first team football and see if that bumps him up. I don't know, though. But we've got a lot of Danes in the side, because Mehmet Kai has now joined, and he looks great as well. Only 18. I think maybe a loan deal. I mean, he's been playing for the under-19s quite a lot, so he's got 14 games for them. He only joined in January anyway, so I really hope that he can progress and turn into something special as that midfielder who plays with both feet, and I really like that. He plays at loads of different positions, really. But yes, there's a lot of options that we've got coming through, and I do think if we look at the development centre and the loans, people have been asking about Okechukwu. He is still here. He's just not scoring a lot of goals when he goes out on loan. 5 goals there on loan at Wolfsburg, 3 on loan at Nottingham Forest. They might be playing him on the right-hand side. I might give him some first-team football this season instead of Torrin. I might loan out Torrin, and I might play Joseph Okechukwu and see how he does in the first team, because he looks a lot better, the better type of player that I like to use anyway. So Kenji Sakamoto, obviously we signed him ages ago. He's now starting to finally develop, 23 years of age. Of course, he's a goalkeeper, so we can wait for him, because goalkeeper-wise, I think we've actually struggled, really, to find a really good replacement that will actually finally replace, of course, David Medina, who is an amazing, we've got an average goalkeeper, if you ask me. So that might be something that we look for going forward in the next couple of years. But in our development, we can see there's a lot of players who's going to be bedding into the first team in the next couple of years. Cordero's played a big part this year, the Costa Rican already, and scored quite a few quite crucial goals, if I'm honest. Drajan is, again, another player that maybe needs a loan move away, because there's a lot of strikers now in the youth academy, so they're going to be fighting against each other, because again, there's another one, Ndai and Nicolas Jimenez. So many strikers. We need to give them game time. But I guess, hey, It's Champions League final time. That's something to get excited with. Champions League final time, and it's against Manchester City, who, remember, we had a great time against already this season, beating them 4-3 at home in the league phase. And of course, it's where our old friend Nelson Viper was sold to for £86 million. Our lineup, despite the loss of Nelson Viper and injuries to Krupi, is still a good one, with Jensen and Behrens being the two danger men for this Mallorca side, and Torres always causing trouble from the left-back position. Thomas Tuchel is the man in charge at Manchester City, and they look to be without some key players such as Erling Haaland and of course Nelson Viper, but it's still a strong team. But the lineups are in, and the final of the Champions League in 2031 is about to be underway. The first highlight of the game was a Mallorca corner, and not a good one either, but the ball was played back out to Behrens and brought down in the box. After checking with VAR, the referee eventually awarded us a penalty just 3 minutes into the match, and the young Italian striker Turin stepped up and smashed it in to gift us the lead. Just minutes later though, and Manchester City are smashing our crossbar with a long-range effort. But we kept Manchester City quiet for a while, held on to the ball to frustrate them and draw them out, and that's when Kawasaki found Behrens on the run, who smashed in a second for us, and now we lead 2-0 in the Champions League final. But an act of madness as our left-back Cesar Torres receives a second yellow card, followed by the red, and we are down to 10 men just before half-time. So I made a safe move, and I brought Torrent off the pitch and pulled one of the strikers back into the left-back role and brought on Victor Arce instead. But it made the game very interesting, I guess, and even still we held on to our own, but a calamity of misfortunes led to Phil Foden having an open goal to pinch one back for the City. And it's game on. And it wasn't long, just 2 minutes later, in fact, that City started to control the game, and that's when Archie Gray found Ansu Fati's run, and his first time shot flew in off the crossbar, and our 2-goal advantage disappeared. But set pieces was always going to be our friend, and then another Mallorca player was brought down, and the referee awarded us a second penalty in the match, and after it was checked by VAR, they confirmed that it was the correct decision, and the Andorran left-back, who has just come on as a substitute, Victor Arce, steps up and smashes the ball home to put us back in front with 20 minutes remaining. A wayward pass, and Manchester City are on the attack, trying to exploit the tired legs of our 10 men, and the run by Ansu Fati is found and he slots it home to equalise. However, the linesman is convinced it's offside, and once again VAR confirm, and we are saved by the flag, and it's still 3-2. City didn't dominate the whole match though, and we still created chances and even struck the post from Takata's shot in the 85th minute. But one last free kick, and City brought their goalkeeper up, but it was cleared, and we simply hold on to the ball and run the clock down, and as the second ticks away, closer and closer to us becoming European champions, until finally the referee blows the final whistle. And for the first time in Mallorca's history, we not only won a European trophy, but the Champions League, 8 seasons after taking over using the youth to gold method. Now, I did have a feeling the Champions League would be easier for us to win than La Liga, because as we mentioned right at the beginning, the plan is to win the 3 major trophies, and we still gotta do that. It's also great to see the reputation grow for the club into a 5-star worldwide club now. So let's get to work on some transfer business, starting with accepting this offer for Takata, who wants to leave anyway. And that money will go on top of our £108 million transfer budget already this summer, which could be even more because players such as Rafael Luiz also wants to leave the club, so we speak to the agent and then hire an intermediary to see if we can get a deal done. £52 million was offered, and although he's worth more, I'll settle for 60 to make sure the deal is done. And that's because I already have his replacement lined up and ready with a bid accepted. And what was once our midfield of Rafael Luiz and Takata both depart on the same day from the youth to gold journey. But there were many talents to potentially bring in to replace them if I was willing to spend big. Like, imagine bagging this Spanish defender from Inter Milan and turning him into a monster CDM. Outside of his 8 for natural fitness, unfortunately. Which then become even more tempting because I sold Morgala to Real Madrid. And now, outside of Junior Krupi, who has that serious injury, we basically have a full new gen team right now. But our first league game of the season is a European Super Cup against Spurs, who managed to win Europa League. And we have so many first team players out injured, which is very frustrating. So we have a starting lineup that includes a new player Johnson in the DM with Vukic and Masarika at the back, and Kadir in the shadow striker role with Okachukwu starting in the advanced forward position. But either Spurs are awful or our new players are just incredible. And Okachukwu was on fire. Maybe the previous long spells were bad because he was playing from the right hand side, because he is perfect as a striker and he scored a hat-trick. That settled it for me. He is my starting striker this season. I'm finally able to train to beat the offside trap without him then going on loan and it cancelling. Plus, actually training him in the strike role instead of the right winger role. First La Liga game of the season is away to Villarreal, and Yannick Behrens continues to surprise people with the first time effort. O'Dane Johnson tucked away an amazing penalty next, and I know what you're thinking. No Okachukwu goal? Yes, actually, he scored the third, scoring 2 more goals in a 5-0 win at home to Real Betis. And then he has concerns about playing time. What is going on? They literally just started the last 3 games. He also wins Player of the Month for August too, with his 6 goals in 3 games. I have also signed a Portuguese centre-back from Vitória, who is good with both feet and has a great spread of attributes, but we did spend nearly £40 million for him. But on the same day as Real Madrid were dropping points, we lose to Celta Vigo. That's annoying. The transfer window is now closed though, and we sit in 3rd place. And in the last year, we've sold £229 million and only brought in £146 million in transfers, which is very interesting. Thankfully, after that loss though, we recouped and beat Elche 3-0. We play Man City next, again. And within the 5th minute, Manchester City were out for revenge as Haaland sets up Archie Gray to give City the lead. But straight from kickoff, an attack down the right-hand side, and the ball falls to Lucien Toma, who sets the scores back to even. We flipped the score around, and it was the new CDM, O'Dane Johnson, who smashed in a worldie to give Mallorca the lead. But Rodri is still knocking around for City, and he pulls it back to 2-2. However, that's when it all goes downhill for Manchester City as we decided to stop messing around and tore them apart and show why we are European champions, scoring 6 goals in total without allowing them back in our net at all, sending the fans happy with a huge win. And we continued the good form, and although we couldn't keep a clean sheet, we won every single game comfortably with Real Madrid up next. It was a very tight game, and in the 87th minute, Real Madrid won a penalty. Jude Bellingham stepped up, but Medina made a huge save. But they still scored in the 94th minute anyway, and we lost. And we decided to take out our frustrations on the next 3 opponents. Somehow as well, in the 7-0 home win, our other CDM, Stambazi, scored 5 goals. 2 of them were penalties, but I still found that quite fascinating. In November, we continued winning games until we faced Valencia away from home. And despite taking the lead, they scored when Luis Suarez lobbed Medina with a header off of a free kick, which took us into a crazy fixture against Barcelona, where the scoreline continued to ping-pong between both teams. We took the lead just before half-time. They equalised just a minute later, and after half-time, they took the lead through Lamine Yamal, who scored 2 goals, but Frank Jensen equalised just minutes after they scored. A bit of a break between goals, but then Barcelona scored a third to put them 3-2 up through João Pedro, and within 4 minutes left, we had a corner whipped in, and Turin managed to pick up the third. It's a 3-3 war. That little blip though, although there was no losses, did see us drop from 2nd to 5th place. And it's incredibly tight at the top with the amount of teams overachieving so far. Okachukwu, speaking of overachieving, has been lethal with 18 goals in all competitions. Fantastic news though as Junior Krupi is back into the lineup and better than ever. He made a couple of substitute appearances, but he started against Atletico Madrid for the first time, and what a return, scoring 3 goals, winning man of the match in a 6-1 away win, and some of the goals he scored too. Absolutely outrageous. December in the Champions League, and we took on the other Manchester team, Manchester United, at Old Trafford as well, and made them look silly. We scored 5 goals with the halftime score being 4-0, and even after halftime they showed nothing, and we continued our onslaught, scoring our 5th, topped off with a Junior Krupi penalty. Just Real Sociedad to play in the final fixture of the year, but the other 2 league wins has us fired back into the 2nd spot, point behind Barcelona. We continue to defeat the country's two best teams by lifting the Super Cup in January too, but dropped 2 points in the league by drawing to Villarreal at home. Keeping the title race very interesting as Real Madrid now jump above us into second spot. Okachukwu and Behrens kept us chugging along though in the next match with a 3-0 away win to Girona, with the supporting cast all getting involved in the goals too, and putting up a serious threat. That was also proven in the Champions League with a controlled win against Lazio, at home with a 2-0 win, and our league phase complete. Finishing in the top spot without losing any games and giving teams a hammering along the way. Other than a couple of loans on the outs, no January transfers were made. Our run in the Copa del Rey though was stopped when Real Madrid battered us 3-0 in the quarterfinals. In the following match, Okachukwu scored an audacious overhead kick in a 6-0 league win. And the cup exit was the only downside to once again a phenomenal month. Lots of comfortable wins, and most importantly, we jumped into the driving seat in La Liga, 3 points ahead of Barcelona and 8 ahead of Real Madrid. We then breezed past Stuttgart in the Champions League with 2-1 wins. But let's go back to the league, because we continue to pick up crucial wins against Levante, with 2 goals being scored by Okachukwu, who's really snatched that striker position from Torrin and outscoring Nelson Viper now. But when he was rested in the following match, we had Gonzalez to thank for 2 very early goals, picking up both goals before the 10th minute. And we thought the game would be over, but then our opponent scored an absolute cracker off the back of a corner. But still, going into the second half, you'd like to think we'd take control and maybe score a couple of more. No, Real Valladolid actually went on to score another, which really set the cat amongst the pigeons before finding our fantastic winner to give us a shock defeat. And we were rumbled in the next match too, drawing 0-0 as well to Celta Vigo. Okachukwu was back scoring a hat-trick in the following match as we picked up back-to-back 4-0 wins, but we were very lucky Barcelona also dropped points, and if they win their game in hand, that puts us a point behind us. Krupi scored 2 goals alongside Okachukwu's opener as we defeated Valencia 3-1 at the start of April, but it was time to face Inter Milan in the Champions League quarterfinals, where Junior Krupi scored another 2 goals, again in a 3-1 win. But what a set of following fixtures we have: Barcelona, Inter Milan, and then both Madrid sides. So, Barcelona at the Camp Nou, and Yannick Behrens slides us into the lead. Despite Barcelona getting Araujo sent off though, they equalised in the second half through Darvic. But a substitute Chilean striker Jimenez came off the bench to steal a winner for us in this top of the table clash. He hasn't featured much, but he's a hero right now. But then we somehow got eliminated from the Champions League after Inter Milan beat us 6-3 at the Giuseppe Meazza. Or from a Lautaro Martinez won the goal after Junior Krupi took it to extra time by scoring in the 96th minute. And we followed that match losing to Atletico Madrid 3-2 at home. So we needed a big performance at the Bernabeu, and we started so well and Okachukwu scored in the 2nd minute. Real Madrid have some fantastic players though, and Arda Güler went on to an unbelievable run and somehow squeezed in an equaliser. But just before half-time, the last goal of the match came when a cutback was met by Yannick Behrens, and we were back winning games. And that win makes it very interesting at the top, as we now go ahead of Real Madrid on head-to-head only, with Barcelona just a point behind us, with only 4 games remaining in the league. Strap yourself in for a very tense end-of-season title race. While we were defeating Sevilla, Barcelona won El Clasico 1-0, but Real Madrid have bounced back since, beating their Madrid rivals, but it's our chance to put some distance between us. And on a beautiful evening in Mallorca, we kept our title hopes going with a comfortable 5-0 win against Granada, scoring 3 goals in the first 25 minutes. But wait till you see the goals in the second half, because Okachukwu scored a wonderful curling effort for the 4th, and then Yannick Behrens nestled in a free kick into the top corner from 25 yards. And that was just as Barcelona dropped 2 points in Levante. But that's exactly what we do, giving up a 2-goal lead by half-time and having Behrens rescue a draw for us against Real Sociedad. And just like that, the boat starts to rock as both Barcelona and Real Madrid win and are snapping at our heels with just 1 point behind us on the final day of the season. Not to mention our opponents on the final day is Tenerife, who need a win to avoid relegation. But on the day, we were absolutely relentless, and we really tortured the Tenerife defence with our high-pressing, fast-paced passing action, with every player on the pitch in a red shirt putting on the best game of their life. And they will forever remember this day as the day that Mallorca were crowned Spanish champions. We scored 7 goals from all positions on the pitch, unfortunately relegating our opponents Tenerife. But from our point point of view, we are crowned La Liga champions for the very first time, topped off finally with a Junior Krupi penalty. Barcelona dropped off on the final day losing, but Real Madrid took us all the way to the very end, staying 1 point behind us as Mallorca finally lift the league title. All done through the youth to gold method. And what a journey it has been. I think we need to have a look and kind of thank some of the players that helped us get there along the way. Nelson Viper being one of them. Of course, now he's at Manchester City. He lost to us in the Champions League final, but he played an integral part in getting us to this point. And unfortunately, we sold him just before we won the Champions League. £110 million doesn't seem worth it for Manchester City, but it was definitely worth us selling him for that amount, because he was crucial for us. He was unbelievable for us for many seasons. That season there, 34 and 36 in 36 games, was insane. Considering we weren't at the time in the top 2 of the league, that's amazing numbers. Then, of course, the other mention down here of the most league goals by a player, because Nelson Viper now holds that record of 168, by the way. Junior Krupi's 101. Now, considering for the most of the time he's playing centre attack in midfield, and he had that huge injury, what a time Junior Krupi has had in a Mallorca shirt, and still ongoing. Of course, that massive injury at the end of last season, I thought maybe we would look to have sold him in that summer, being that the fact that he is the only real player in the game that we have left in Mallorca, outside of a couple of reserve players who every now and then feature. What a season he had in the comeback. 17 goals in 22 appearances, only 19 starts, with 4 assists and 5 player of the matches. When he came back from his injury, he was better than when he actually got injured, and he has been absolutely insane for us. So looking at this season, if we go by the star rating, we've got 3 5-star players right now in Masarika, Behrens and Frank Jensen. And to be honest, I can't argue with that. Masarika, for 22 years of age, is the best centre-back, I think, in the game right now. He is absolutely incredible. Left-sided as well. He plays on the left-hand side at left-back every now and then as a natural position. Yannick Behrens, I was worried when he kept breaking his ankle. Didn't need to be worried. He's the best player in the world. I genuinely think he is. I don't think there's a player that I've seen that is better than Yannick Behrens right now. I think he's the best player in the world. As a centre attacking midfielder, he's been so crucial for us. He doesn't get the huge numbers that you see from other potential shadow strikers, but look at the average ratings of 7.3, 7.4. Since he joined us, it's always been above a 7, which is absolutely incredible, really. £40 million, £40 million well spent. Usually in youth to gold, you spend a lot less than that. But when players like Yannick Behrens comes around, he's one of the reasons why we won the league and won the Champions League. Absolutely. Got no doubt about that whatsoever. And then Frank Jensen, I mean, you talk about bargains. Frank Jensen cost us 6.7 million. Absolutely unbelievable. Training to beat the offside trap definitely worked. He started chipping in with a lot of goals after that. Every single time we played him, he was absolutely incredible for us. And Okachukwu, the last season wonder, really, because he's been out on loan, not really doing much, and then all of a sudden comes back into contention in the starting lineup for Mallorca and gets 25 goals and 32 appearances. Yeah, can't argue with that. 300k we bought him for from Nigeria. So, I mean, the loan deals look terrible. Attribute-wise, he looks incredible. Beating the offside trap definitely helped. Sticking him up front definitely helped. And he even played a part a few times in that shadow striker role, which definitely helped as well. Kawasaki, finally got my hands on Kawasaki, and he came up trumps. £3.8 million. He had some really good seasons for us in the end, and the last season was arguably his best one. He's really come into his own now. Once we sold Morgala and Morgala moved on, Kawasaki nailed down that right back spot pretty much every single game he was fit for. The Japanese Gary Neville with a bit of pace is what I'm going to say. That's basically what he is. So well done, Kawasaki. I'm really happy with that. And the same on the left-hand side. Cesar Torres, unbelievable player for us since he came in. Again, £1.6 million. Look how good he is for £1.6 million. There are a lot of flops. Everybody always goes, how did you find all of these amazing players? There's a lot of flops that maybe I don't showcase that just never develop. Point is me showing you them, but these are the ones highlighted that have done very well. Lucien Toma as well, as I mentioned maybe at the start, come into a really good last couple of seasons there in that centre midfield role, and exceptional stuff. Now, the rest of the players in here, there are some absolute beauts, of course, that we're going to miss out. And development-wise, we've still got, like, Sakamoto. He's been in it seems like he's been around for so long now. £2.1 million we signed him for in 2025, 2026. He's never really played that many games, just a couple of appearances for the first team and got 1 clean sheet there. There's so many unbelievable talents that we've got. And if you want to take over this Youth to Gold side, you can. The save game file is going to go up on Patreon and on the channel members. However, I will also put in the tactic, but I'm going to retire this manager. Bang. We're going to retire. So, let me know what your thoughts are. Hope you really enjoyed this Youth to Gold series, as we always do. But my eyes now are fully set on the versus episodes we're going to be doing with Dad. Because we're going to tackle Glory Hunter versus each other. And that's a lot of fun. So make sure you're subscribed because you do not want to miss that. Normally I only do Glory Hunter by myself, but no. We're tackling it against each other. I'll put episode 1 of the Wrexham versus Notts County save up on the screen right now for you. Make sure you check that out because it's pretty much exactly the same as the versus rebuild. We go one-on-one, season by season. Check it out right now. Thank you.